Under the blazing sun of 1452 at the smithy in Chao Lu district, Fulong, the air was far from calm. Ban Tu's face flushed crimson. He delivered a kick to Lu Yuyan's rear and roared angrily. "You son of a bitch! Do you know how hard I worked to learn the claw technique in cooking? And you dare to sneak and steal it?" Lu Yuyan was chased and beaten repeatedly, left with no shred of dignity. He curled up trying to look pitiful, begging continuously, "Senior Ban, I'm wrong. I won't do it again, I won't." Ban Tu, clearly used to this act, just glared at him with a look of exasperation. Seeing Ban Tu prepare another blow, Lu Yuyan shouted hastily, his voice trembling, "I really was wrong. Please spare me." Finally Ban Tu snorted, momentarily calming his fury, then turned to shout at the cooks bustling about. "Move your hands and feet faster. The masters in the front courtyard are about to get up. If they eat late, a few kicks won't be the end of it. And look at you all copying Nyo Gue over there. He only learned the stance yesterday, stood all night, yet he's so quick now. You lot really are a bunch of garbage." The cooks replied fearfully in unison. "Yes, yes, sir." Taking advantage of the chaos, Lu Yuyan hugged a bundle of firewood, pretended to be busy, and quietly slipped toward the storeroom. Ban Tu hadn't fully calmed and shouted after him. "Didn't they tell you to work? Get moving. Do you still want to eat or not?" Lu Yuyan jumped, hair standing on end with panic, and hurriedly answered, "Yes, yes." He hurriedly tossed the firewood into the storeroom, mumbling to himself, a flash of determination in his eyes. "Tomorrow is my big day," he told himself. He must endure now. The next morning, under the pale dawn light, Truong K counted out the coins crisply, 30 in total, and ordered to return before sunset. "If you sleep outside overnight, that'll count as 2 days off." Lu Yuyan eagerly stepped out of the forge gate, elated. Having been transported here for over a month, he could finally leave this stifling place. Walking through the bustling streets, he excitedly took in the sights. His gaze suddenly stopped at a few chickens being sold by the roadside. In the ritual notes in the Book of 100 Classics, 5 animals were required. Meat was too expensive. He thought the blood of 5 animals might suffice. After all, in ancient times, blood food was often used in sacrifices. But the chow couldn't be touched. There might be clear laws. Killing a chow drew 100 lashes, exile 1,000 miles, and 1.5 years in prison. He murmured, "Deer, stag, antler, wolf, rabbit could also be considered the 5 in another way. Using rabbit instead of chow should be fine. They're all part of the 5 elements." After half a day of searching, Lu Yuyan collected half a caddy of pig's blood, goat's blood, chicken blood, and rabbit blood. His funds depleted. Down from 30 coins to only 4, he muttered in astonishment. "Why is blood so expensive? If I fail, next month I'll be eating the northwest wind." The crowd continued to chatter excitedly. A spirit fish was an extraordinarily nourishing and rare creature. No one had caught one in 2 years. One such fish could keep an ordinary family well-fed and comfortable for several years. The seller held up the item and shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, this oxhorn tail bone weighs 12 caddies. If you can't afford it, don't bother pestering." The crowd clamored to buy. 12 caddies? I'll take 12 tails. Lu Yuyan listened, filled with resentment. In a month he only earned 3 won. 3 years of apprenticeship would yield 1 tael of silver. Yet a fish was worth 12 taels. People were worth less than fish. He turned into a small alley. According to the original owner's memories, going straight would lead to the house. Standing before the gate, he knocked a few times, and immediately a voice from inside called out, "Third younger brother, you're back." Lulam, his second brother, happily pulled him inside and asked solicitously, "Have you eaten? Go rest in your room first. Let second brother make you something to eat. Your sister-in-law went out to work and won't be back for a while." Lu Yuyan breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he wasn't dragged into revisiting the old matter. In the quiet courtyard he stood alone, his gaze resolute. He carefully poured each vial of purchased blood onto the ground, beginning to arrange the 4-direction 5-color formation. A Taiji diagram gradually emerged, drawn with fresh blood. Having memorized the formation structure countless times, he sketched it deftly without hesitation. There was no time to delay, so he began at once. He clasped his hands and bowed reverently. Disciple Liu Yuan, having studied the 100 classics and understood the enlightened heart of the realms, with the intention to save people and spread the scriptures for the ancients, I beseech Thuong Tien to transmit the talisman. But nothing happened. Passing by the fish market, he heard the crowd buzzing about the sun. A kid who had caught a spiritual fish, ox-horned goatfish, at Bitch Tui Lake. Someone exclaimed, "Ah Tui, that guy has the skill? Didn't his boat get stolen by Lu Truck?" Liu Yuan felt a flicker of disappointment and muttered, "No effect. Could the masters know I haven't fully understood the 100 classics? Or is there simply no such thing as receiving an ascension talisman?" He sighed. What a waste of effort. At that moment, a terrifying pressure slammed down, making Liu Yuan clutch his head in pain. He collapsed to his knees. The space around him suddenly glowed blood-red. In utter panic, he shouted, "I can't hear clearly. I really can't hear clearly." Something grotesque and enormous was silently approaching from behind. Liu Yuan's eyes were bloodshot. He instinctively lifted his head to face the invisible pressure, and his head slammed hard onto the ground, searing with pain. In a stunned moment, he seemed to see waves of blood surging toward him, layer upon layer, as if trying to swallow him whole. Then his body suddenly felt weightless, as if those waves lifted him up high. Panicked, Liu Yuan turned to look behind him, his heart pounding. The wave that raised him transformed into a painted scroll of overlapping mountains, vivid as life. It was the mysterious talisman. His whole body floated in midair, as if absorbing the cool spiritual chi radiating from the talisman. But a gloomy, cold aura kept seeping into his body, making Liu Yuan feel lost in an endless, dark void. Each part of his body was forced by a strange power, twisted into grotesque, indescribable shapes. Liu Yuan's head suddenly endured a sharp, decisive force, as if breaking like a dry piece of wood. At that instant, a bluish screen flashed before his eyes, displaying the words, "First time receiving talisman transfer." When the lamb, his second brother, stepped out of the house, he was horrified to see his younger brother lying unconscious on the ground. In panic, he dropped the tray of food he was carrying and rushed to Liu Yuan's side, his voice trembling. Lao Tam, what's wrong? Wake up." Liu Yuan's sister-in-law, who had just come in from outside, was equally alarmed. "What's happened to Lao Tam?" Liu Yuan tried to calm himself, slowly opened his eyes, and softly said to soothe them both, "Brother, sister-in-law, I'm fine." Lil Lam exhaled in relief, his voice still shaking. "Good. That's a relief. You nearly gave me a heart attack. You just returned and you're already like this. Do you need to go back to the smithy? Take a few days rest, you must be exhausted." Liu Yuan checked the strange system that had appeared in his mind and replied, "I'm fine. But what is this?" He stared in surprise at the notification screen before him. A system? Master really is ahead of his time. The screen clearly read, "First talisman transfer. Chief Soldier rank 6, Chief Soldier Master rank 1, Liu Yuan. Number of Royal Guards, 1. A vast stream of information suddenly flooded his mind, as if he'd learned it long ago. An urge to swing blades and wield swords erupted fiercely, unlike anything he'd felt before. The notification continued, "Chief Soldier Master rank 1. Sacrificial requirements. 1,000 caddies of iron, 100 taels of refined silver, 1 tael of gold to ascend to Chief Soldier Master rank 2. Liu Yuan pondered and muttered, "All right, Master also knows how to harvest leeks. Huh? Así pesquincon." He quickened his pace to the gate and said goodbye to the two of them. "Brother, sister-in-law, keep working. I'll be back in a few days." Inwardly, he lamented the days of selling his labor to the smithy. Now he just had to earn money to move up. Lil Lam still looked worried and frowned. "Are you really all right?" Liu Yuan downplayed it to reassure them. "It's nothing. A few days ago, Tan Thursday V taught me a new method. I trained too hard. That's all. No need to see me off. I'm fine now." In his head, he kept calculating. Before spending money, he had to see what use this system of masters actually had. Back at the central yard of the military training unit, the disciples were training tirelessly, sweat falling like rain. Liu Yuan noticed the pile of weapons stacked in the corner of the yard and thought to himself, Talisman iron is also a kind of killing mechanism, right? On the way, the clanging of weapons from the chief soldiers rang out continuously, urging him to find a weapon of his own. Suddenly he paused and took in the scene around him. The disciples had formed 2 neat rows, preparing for the training session. Tan Hung! A loud, commanding voice rang out. The white circle flying wind hammer is divided into 2 parts. Inner is the shaft, outer is the hammer. There are 3 harmonies inside and 3 harmonies outside. If the 6 harmonies of inner and outer connect smoothly, that is true mastery. Having spoken, he immediately turned to correct each disciple's stance. One person misaligned. Tan Hung showed no mercy and slapped his shoulder so hard the man nearly fell. He taught coldly, "If your lower stance isn't stable, your strikes won't hurt." Next he adjusted Nyo Gue's posture, his tone stern. The white circle flying wind hammer is the smithy's fundamental art, passed down over 200 years, divided into 4 levels. Entry, proficiency, minor mastery, great mastery. To join the guild hall, you must train this art to the entry level before the year ends. Nyo Gue could only mutter complaints, and watching, Lu Yuyan felt the pain too. This was harsh.
En Higueur disciple en d'aide le Huyen à Wuden Malais.
Just then, Tan Hung's voice rang out. "Raise the mallet, hold still." The moment he gripped the mallet, the system notification appeared. Hammer training 8 caddies. Not yet entry level. This was the training hammer used by the smithy disciples to practice the white circle flying wind hammer, soaked in the blood and tears of hundreds of trainees over the years. But the notification continued. Master requirement ineffective. Proficiency feng shui trait will disappear after grasping the weapon. Lu Yuyan tried swinging the mallet, performing a few basic moves, thinking no wonder the old man was obsessed with talisman transfer. Though he'd never held a weapon before, it already felt different. He muttered, calm down, with so many people here. If one mallet goes missing, nobody would notice, right?" Ahead, Tan Hung diligently demonstrated. Power from the ground, rooted in the legs, focused at the waist, through the shoulders to the arms, finally formed at the wrist. White circle movement, he swung. Lu Yuyan silently compared and found the white circle flying wind hammer was no different from the boxing forms of his previous world. Tan Hung sternly cautioned, "Don't think it's simple. Reaching entry level is extremely hard. Remember what you learned today. It's enough for a lifetime." He paused, looking at the disciples inside. Some have good potential, but sadly their foundations are too weak to train. Ban Tu quickly offered tea and flattering asked, "Brother Tan, tell me, who among them has good potential?" Tan Hung didn't bother pointing anyone out, only gave a forced smile. "Just some kids from fallen households." Ban Tu hurriedly escorted him. "Brother Tan, let me see you out." Under the blazing red sunset draping the Chao Lu County smithy, the air buzzed with Ban Tu's shouting. He stood proudly, his voice booming like thunder, ordering the exhausted apprentices. "You lot train hard for me. Don't be lazy. If any of you dare slack off, I won't be polite." But when facing Tan Hung, Ban Tu immediately switched to a genial expression, smiling brightly as if he'd never been angry. Lu Yuyan stood in a corner watching Ban Tu and thought to himself, "He says that, but there's something off in his gaze. It's not sincere at all." As the dusk faded, the smithy was bathed in a brilliant orange. A few apprentices began to complain weakly, "I can't stand anymore." Everyone was trembling from exhaustion, Lu Yuyan included. It looked like a simple stance, but it drained energy unbelievably. Lu Yuyan muttered, "This scrawny body is too weak." The other apprentices were much better trained. Most could still hold on. Only Nyo Gue remained in the central yard, trying to maintain his posture even though sweat soaked his back. He showed a steadfast demeanor and only gave up when he saw Lu Yuyan also exhausted and stopping. He panted and muttered, "This brat's run out of steam too." Yet inwardly he felt proud. After all, this yard still had me as the best. When the sunset gave way to night, Lu Yuyan moved silently. He tiptoed to the training hammers, his eyes glinting with intent. Dozens of hammers lay neatly. He thought, if one goes missing, no one will notice, right? The system suddenly displayed a gray notice, "Not yet entry level." Lu Yuyan frowned, wondering if gray meant he lacked the required rank. He inspected closely and realized the 43 training hammers were all low-grade weapons, but with subtle differences. Most bore entry-level enchantments. Only about 10 reached proficiency level. He picked the most strikingly colored hammer and muttered, "Though they're all proficiency grade, this one looks the best. Must be it." Lu Yuyan decided to test it. He planted the iron hammer on the ground and quietly whispered the command, "Master Bind." Immediately the hammer transformed into a thin stream of qi and dissolved before his eyes. Lu Yuyan was stunned. Incredible! The large hammer simply seemed to evaporate into the air. But he suddenly realized the platform was too small. It could at best hold a few hammers. He lifted another hammer, feeling a strange stream of power seeping through, merging into the talisman that was taking shape in his mind. A familiar pressure rushed in, making him clamp his ears in tension, muttering, "Again!" Deep in his mind's sea, images of martial trainees holding stances appeared vividly like 3D paintings. Every movement clear down to the details. The shouts of "train, train, train" echoed like rolling thunder, startling Lu Yuyan. He gasped, "It can be like this too? Lower stance, tailbone, arms, eyes and ears." The armor discipline turned out to be this detail. Time passed in a flash. Before long it was pale dawn. Nyo Gue woke, rubbing his sore body and muttering, "Yesterday's training was a bit too much. Even after sleeping all night my waist hurts more." Suddenly he was horrified to see Lu Yuyan already standing in the yard. Nyo Gue's voice involuntarily rose. "When did you get up? Did this brat sneak out in the middle of the night to train?" Lu Yuyan didn't blink and replied nonchalantly, "I just woke up." Nyo Gue eyed him skeptically, thinking, "This one's full of energy, not like someone up all night training. I knew this scrawny monkey wouldn't dare sneak practice." Lu Yuyan put on a trustworthy expression and nodded, secretly disdainful. "Want to probe me? Dream on." He resumed his usual tasks, chopping firewood and carefully stacking each bundle in the storeroom. His body remained full of vitality despite the night's depletion of energy. Lu Yuyan felt satisfied, sensing a new thread of power flowing through him, clearer than ever. This is real martial art, he thought. He must quickly get into the inner courtyard. That was the true place for cultivation. With basic chores done, the group resumed training. One disciple announced, "Today we teach the flying wind hammer. Everyone take up your hammers and hold your stance." A few muttered objections. "More stances, we can barely eat. How can we hold on?" But aloud the whole group chorused, "Yes, sir." Lu Yuyan bent down and gripped his hammer, clearly feeling a strange current of power. It was just an ordinary iron hammer, yet he felt as if a lifeblood thread connected to it. An exquisite sensation. Lomin barked, "Combine form, breath, and movement. Work harder." "Do you think I'm idle?" Nyo Gue asked curiously. "Brother Lo, how long does it take to reach entry level for this?" Lo Min replied, "For middling talent, diligent training for over half a year can reach entry. Those who reached entry years ago were taught personally by Master Tan. The flying wind hammer has 18 moves. Today I'll teach you the first." He called, "Nyo Gue, come here, you're first." Lu Yuyan thought, "So that's it." Lo Min carefully adjusted Nyo Gue's stance. Force from the ground through the legs, through the waist to the wrist. Remember, the force should be like an unending gale. Nyo Gue absorbed it quickly and nodded. "I remember."
Lo Min Price. Good.
Has this little ox reached entry? When it was Lu Yuyan's turn, he wanted to try his strength as well. A hammer came down. The powerful momentum made those nearby reel, barely keeping their balance. Both Nyo Gue and Lo Min looked on in astonishment. By the tavern, Ban Tu was flattering and pouring wine for Tan Hung. "Come on, brother Tan, drink." Tan Hung declined curtly. "Not drinking. Go watch those brats train." Ban Tu hurriedly nodded. "Yes, sir." Remembering something, he added, "By the way, brother Tan, I heard they're opening a new shop at Denlong Mansion next year. The head treasurer will be stationed at the mansion afterward. Right?" Tan Hung frowned, skeptical. "Who told you that?" "It's just a rumor. As long as Cao Long lives, would the head treasurer dare leave Chao Lu for long? That man is the fearless dragon crossing river. Du Long, a military valley figure. Hearing that, Ban Tu quickly smiled obsequiously. Master Tan is right. It's just a rumor. I only mean, if the shop changes in any way, Master Tan, please don't forget little me. At that moment, Tan Hung suddenly sensed an unusual aura coming from outside the training yard. He froze, his suspicious gaze flicking to the silhouette of Lu Yuyan, who was eagerly clutching the training hammer. Ban Tu, standing behind, momentarily confused, asked, "What's wrong?" Tan Hung said in a low, astonished voice, "Lu Lam's younger brother." He studied Lu Yuyan's small but imposing figure closely, then nodded in confirmation. "That's right. Now he can perform 3 moves, though his power path isn't sufficient. His posture flows like water and drifting clouds. Having just learned the hammer art, he's already more graceful than I was then. This brat's talent far surpasses Nyo Gue. He'll become a good smith one day." Hearing that appraisal, Ban Tu was momentarily stunned, standing silent for a long while as if shaken by Tan Hung's words. Finally, he muttered with hidden meaning, "This brat has actually offended Tan Hung." As the brilliant sunset enveloped the smithy, casting a rare calm over the space, Lu Yuyan quietly stepped into the tool room. He watched the iron hammers lined up neatly, then suddenly bent down to look into the lower cabinet. A blade flashed coldly in the dark, startling him. How could I forget this utility knife? He picked it up and inspected it carefully. The system immediately displayed, Broken Edge Utility Blade. Rank, Entry.
Usage requirement, ineffective.
Lu Yuyan muttered in disappointment. Worthless low-grade thing. His stomach gurgled loudly, ravenous. After a day of work and training, his scrawny body had no strength left. He sighed. Without fat or oil, I can't endure this. I must find a way to earn money. With that thought, he decided to go out and get some meat to eat. The silver his second brother Lu Lam gave him was nearly gone. He couldn't keep living like this. Need to find a way to earn extra money, he muttered, hurrying toward a nearby shop. There he noticed a hired hand slicing meat. Lu Yuyan asked curiously, "Can I see your butcher's knife?" The shop owner, Butcher Ho, promptly handed him the cleaver. The moment his hand touched the blade, the system displayed, Butcher Ho's cleaver. Rank, Entry. This bone-cleaving knife has been used for years and is severely worn. Usage effect, entry-level blade skill. Usable condition, no. Lu Yuyan's eyes brightened. Can I buy this knife? Butcher Ho quickly named a price. You want it? 1 coin. He replied without hesitation. I do. He skipped back home, one hand carrying the meat, the other holding the knife. Lu Yuyan excitedly decided to dedicate the knife, treating it as an additional weapon. He used the bone-cleaving blade in place of a hammer for practice, bringing it into the master arms list. But as he did, a chill ran down his spine as if someone had stripped his clothes off. He muttered, "Why does this feel so strange?" Fortunately, he still remembered the hammer techniques and form work, but the familiar feel of the proficiency-level hammer technique was gone. Instead, he felt an odd familiarity with the knife, as if he'd used it to butcher meat for years. Lu Yuyan thought to himself, it seems switching weapons doesn't have a huge impact, but you can't change them arbitrarily. You can only switch once every 2 days. He sighed anxiously. Too many things to worry about. Although the master arms list could hold a few more weapons, to control more he had to level up. The upgrade conditions were too harsh, and his sect, Reborn, was dirt poor. When night fell, Ban Tu soaked leisurely in the hot bathtub at the bathhouse, his face full of enjoyment. Seeing Lu Yuyan pass by, he called out, "Come add more hot water for me." Though annoyed, he answered clearly, "Yes." Ban Tu relaxed and complained, "I heard you're not bad with the hammer. Such a pity, such a pity." Lu Yuyan asked curiously, in a soft voice, "What does Senior Head regret?" Ban Tu replied ambiguously, his eyes glinting with amusement. "There's one thing I've just discovered, that Tan Hung is skilled in martial arts, a lover of food and drink, but his greatest talent is women." Lu Yuyan frowned, guessing, what does Ban Tu mean by telling me this? He continued in a low voice, "I heard he keeps a girl surnamed Nyo in Sai Yu Ward, slender and pretty." Lu Yuyan caught the point and asked immediately, "Nyo? Is she related to Nyo Gue? Ban Tu added with innuendo. My smithy has a 200-year reputation for cultivating apprentices, but properly speaking, it's not Tan Hung instructing you in martial arts. Lu Yuyan was startled. So that's how it is. Ban Tu lowered his voice and continued. This time each yard has only one slot into the inner courtyard. Over a month ago, Nyo Gue was already chosen. Do you understand? Hearing this, even if slow to grasp, Lu Yuyan understood and hurriedly replied, Thank you, senior, for pointing that out. Seeing his calm attitude, Ban Tu was surprised. You're not disappointed? You clearly performed best, yet you weren't admitted to the inner courtyard. Don't you feel any grievance? Lu Yuyan answered tactfully, in a composed voice. A little disappointed, but not much. To call it grievance. This opportunity wasn't mine to begin with, so why should I resent it? At least I learned some martial art. Ban Tu laughed heartily, then revealed another shocking bit. Interesting, but you're still wrong. Although the white circle flying wind hammer isn't the best art in the forge, how could I easily pass it all on to you? Lu Yuyan was stunned, stammering, You don't teach it? Ban Tu stated firmly. Of course I teach all the external moves, but internal skill. No matter how high your aptitude, without 3 to 5 years you won't reach entry. Suddenly, Ban Tu's large body sprang up, splashing water from the tub. Lu Yuyan hurriedly wiped the drops off his face, inwardly annoyed. Ban Tu unexpectedly patted his shoulder and assessed. Your aptitude is mid to low, and your bones are a bit weak. Seizing the chance, Lu Yuyan quickly begged, Senior, I wish to learn your cooking trade. Astonishment rose in him. He couldn't believe the revealed truth. Ban Fat here was skilled enough in martial arts to serve as head cook at the forge. Truly not to be underestimated. Ban Tu seemed to read that thought in his gleaming eyes, smiled with satisfaction, and said with meaning, You brat, you sure know how to climb up. Seeing food in the inner yard hard to get, you want to earn some from me? Lu Yuyan nodded frankly, without hiding anything. I won't hide it. It's true. I can cook, and my blade work is pretty good. Please take me in. Ban Tu kept a probing expression, his eyes sharp as if piercing him. Real or fake? To prove his sincerity, Lu Yuyan nimbly grabbed the kitchen knife sitting nearby. He pulled up a bunch of green onions from the pot and, with agile movements, sliced them finely. The knife cuts were sharp and even, prompting Ban Tu to exclaim, Not bad, brat. How many years have you practiced blade work? Lu Yuyan answered respectfully, slightly bowing. Master, I've practiced for a few years. Confidence filled him. In his previous life he had served an old chef, so blade work and cooking were no problem. Now, using Butcher Ho's bone-cleaving knife, his blade skill had only improved. This time he changed his form of address, speaking earnestly. I only ask to cook for food. For other tasks I'll follow your orders. Hearing this, Ban Tu laughed heartily, his eyes showing satisfaction. You didn't waste your second brother's money and you work hard yourself. Fine. I really am short an assistant. Lu Yuyan brightened in surprise. Second brother? He thought to himself. Second brother gave quite a sum to Ban Fat. Had he not acted proactively, that money might have been wasted. Ban Tu said no more, suddenly tossed an iron hammer toward him, and said sternly, Catch! Lift the hammer. Assume stance. He added, The hammer move you learned isn't fake, just missing a few things. Today I'll teach you the white circle breathing. I'll demonstrate once. Upon hearing that, Lu Yuyan's eyes lit up, his heart filled with excitement. He hurried after Ban Tu outside, not forgetting to bow and thank him. Thank you, master. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. The weather turned cold. The streets were blanketed in white snow, glittering under the pale sun. Lu Yuyan now looked much sturdier, his step more steady than before. Walking along the snow-covered street, he thought, Since Ban Tu taught me the white circle breathing, not only has the food improved, but when I assume stance and raise the hammer I can keep my breathing steady. Entry should be only a few days away. Previously, by accidentally revealing his sharp knack for calculation, all the trading in the middle yard had fallen to him. Lost in thought, Lu Yuyan's gaze suddenly stopped at a roadside stall. On the table, a single torn shoe lay all alone, looking very odd. He pointed curiously and asked, "Boss, you can sell this torn shoe?" The owner sighed and explained, "It's from Lu Truck Dao from the back street. I don't know where he found it, but he insisted on selling it to me, only one shoe. Tell me, what's going on here?" Lu Yuyan picked up the shoe and inspected it closely. "Let me see." The system immediately displayed a message that surprised him. He thought to himself, "Since joining the kitchen I've gone out 7 or 8 times, passed through Vin Thin and Sayu wards, and seen many non-entry grade weapons. But this is the first time I've seen a first-grade item." The owner continued, "If it were a pair it'd be fine, but there's only one, hence this mess. Lu Truck Dao even asked me for 1 silver coin. If you want it, 1 silver coin and it's yours." Lu Yuyan used a soft sales tactic and pretended to leave. 1 torn shoe for 1 silver coin. Isn't that a bit expensive? Seeing this, the owner quickly lowered the price. 1 silver was for someone else. "For you, le brother, 40 copper is fine." He still wasn't satisfied and shook his head. "If you say so, then keep it for yourself." The owner panicked and called after him, Wait, we can still negotiate." Lu Yuyan seized the opportunity, speaking calmly, "Here's the deal. My master sent me to buy spices. I plan to go to Vin Thin, but your stall's spices look fine." The owner immediately responded generously, "Le brother has an eye. My seasonings are top quality. Since you're buying, I'll gift you this shoe." Outwardly, Lu Yuyan feigned embarrassment. "All right then." But inside he was thrilled. The item was his. He hugged his purchase happily and ran like the wind down the snowy street, turning into a small alley to examine it. Activate use. Lu Yuyan examined the new item. The first-grade shoe looked quite powerful, but there was only one. Would that cause any problems? Never mind. I'll figure it out at home. Before he could finish the thought, his steps suddenly felt light, as if he were walking on clouds. He truly strode as if flying. First grade really is top-notch. But then he sighed. The master arms list at first grade can only control 1 weapon. To switch you must wait 2 days. To be stronger you must level up, and to level up you need money. 1,000 caddies of iron, 100 taels of fine silver, 1 tael of gold. This isn't a joke. Even if I robbed someone I couldn't earn that. Suddenly, a few people rushed past the alley entrance, shouting, "A Tui is here!" The crowd buzzed. Did a Tui catch a spirit fish again? A Tui, whose mother died early, was a top-class angler and had continuously caught 3 spirit fish. Because of that, he not only repaired his house but also joined Lai Hop Martial Hall, one of the 4 great martial halls in the city. Among the curious crowd, Tan Hung was also present, bent over inspecting the fish basket. "There's a red-eye fish. My luck isn't bad. How many coins for this fish?" "I'll take it." Lu Yuyan watched that scene in dejection, full of regret. Spirit fish weren't something he could afford. Only wealthy people like Tan Hung could enjoy them. He muttered, "Too bad I don't have any fishing-related weapon. Forget it." Seeing it was still early, he decided to go home. Le Lam was busy shoveling snow outside the gate. Seeing his younger brother return, his face lit up. "Ah, Yuyan, you're back." Lu Yuyan held up the 2 fish boastfully. "Second brother, I bought these 2 lap fish on the way. They're for you." Le Lam patted his shoulder, praising, "Good job, kid. Your vigor looks stronger, and you're firmer too. Let me cook these 2 lap fish for you." Perfect timing. Sister-in-law bought 2 caddies of fatty meat yesterday. Lu Yuyan smiled and replied, "I've already eaten. How could I go hungry as a kitchen helper?" Inside the house, Le Lam reminded him, "The snow came early this year. I just finished the winter clothes and left them by the bed. Try them on and see if they fit." Lu Yuyan asked doubtfully, "Second brother, where did you get the money for winter clothes?" He thought to himself, even a padded jacket made with the cheapest fabric plus stuffing would cost over a tael of silver, enough for an average family to eat for half a year. Le Lam explained calmly, "Charcoal prices were good before winter. I earned a fair bit these past months. Combined with sister-in-law's wages, 1 padded jacket for you isn't a big deal." Lu Yuyan didn't dare accept and hurriedly refused. "I won't take it. The forge will issue padded jackets later. Give this to sister-in-law to alter. She works hard washing others' clothes. But Le Lam decisively threw the jacket over his shoulders. Do apprentices get issued clothes? If I give it to you, you wear it. Our household has been weak for years, yet sister-in-law still married me. If I treated her poorly, wouldn't I be struck by lightning? If you don't want it, just put it away. Le Lam's face was full of tenderness as he ruffled Lu Yuyan's hair like he was still a child. He chuckled softly. You're still growing, getting a little taller every month. Luckily, sister-in-law made the jacket one size larger. Otherwise, it'd be too tight on you. Second brother's kindness left Lu Yuyan contemplative. His eyes briefly touched with emotion. He looked straight at him. Serious. Second brother, tell me honestly, did you borrow money from outside? Le Lam flinched slightly, didn't answer immediately, and turned to the kitchen with an evasive gaze. As if he'd guessed the source, his voice grew low. Who told you?
Bantu.
After saying that, a sorrowful expression showed on his face. Finally unable to hide it, Le Lam sighed and confessed. I borrowed money from Bao on 9th District Street, paying 30% interest. The rate is considered normal. I promised to repay before next winter. Our family is poor but still held back a little to take care of you. Lu Yuyan hung his head, voice sad. Second brother, you didn't have to borrow money for me. Just then, sister-in-law pushed the door open, startling the two brothers. Her hands were flushed from the cold, trembling slightly as she warmed them by the fire. She kept a calm expression, trying to spare Lu Yuyan any embarrassment. Since you're back, take the padded jacket. Give it to second brother. I have to go out again. I don't know what bad luck I might run into. Lu Yuyan clasped his hands. Earnest. Thank you, sister-in-law. Noticing her hands stiffened by the cold, his heart ached. With gentle care, Le Lam poured hot water into a basin and said, I'll pour hot water for you to soak your hands. Lu Yuyan didn't want to be a bother and hurriedly said, Sister-in-law, I've already eaten lunch. I'll go now. Leave the 2 lap fish for second brother to cook for mother. Le Lam called after him. Finish eating before you go. You rotten brat. Run like the wind. Lu Yuyan stepped outside, his heart heavy as he sifted through the original owner's memories. Bao, the little boss of the Fishermen's Guild on 9th District Street, charging 30% interest. In the memories, this was still considered fair. He thought, second brother is simple and honest but not ordinary, bearing the household alone after the patriarch's death and the eldest brother's disappearance. He raised me and now must borrow money. Are any of those loan sharks decent? I hope nothing bad happens. Suddenly an idea flashed. Why didn't I think to borrow from those folks to level up the master arms list? That seems much more reliable. But he immediately reminded himself. First he must train the white circle flying windhammer to entry level. With good martial skill, TTN will earn a lot of money. Lu Yuyan practiced tirelessly until dusk, heedless of the bone-chilling cold. Bantu taught him the white circle breathing method recorded in the books, completely replacing the original breathing technique. He thought the white circle flying windhammer would only truly succeed when combined with this breathing, yet Tun Bio's breathing method was oddly ordinary. He decided to try switching the 6-harmony shoe to the training hammer. He lifted the iron hammer and shouted with vigor. Ha! Each hammer stroke rose and fell, whipping up swirling snow and wind in the night. The noise woke Bantu, and he stepped out irritably, growling, So noisy at midnight. Can anyone get any sleep? But when he saw the scene before him, he froze. The snow beneath Lu Yuyan's feet had been pushed aside by the force, forming a perfect circle. He felt his perception sharpen dramatically, even able to hear the blood flowing in his body. The unexpected good news stunned Lu Yuyan. I did it! According to the book, when martial energy reaches the palm it's refined, when it reaches the arm it's minor success, and full success permeates all 4 limbs. He murmured, My spirit is elated. The blood flows. This feels amazing. That's enough talk. Now I want someone to test the hammer. This is real martial skill. Bantu, witnessing it all, called cheerfully, Yuyan Z, come to the late-night dining room. Lu Yuyan was startled. Master Tun, really? He waved his hand, booming. What are you standing there for? Still dazed, Lu Yuyan mumbled. Yuyan Z, Did I hear that right? On the table, a few simple dishes were already set. Ban Tu poured wine and handed it to him. When the blood first forms, you should drink some of my tonic wine. Still stunned, Li Yuyan accepted the bowl of wine. Master, this is... Ban Tu laughed heartily. If it's for you, drink up. Your constitution is only mid-low, yet you've entered the school so soon. Seems quite compatible with the path. Besides the white circle flying wind hammer, your second brother also gave you many tonics. Huh? Li Yuyan nodded in acknowledgement. Second brother has truly been good to me, but inwardly he thought that if it weren't for the day he first revealed hammer talent, suddenly entering the school now would surely make Tun Bio suspicious. Ban Tu admired him, voice full of feeling. Brotherhood. I'm envious. Your second brother didn't spend that money in vain. He added, listen, the quota from the middle courtyard into the inner courtyard should rightfully be yours. Li Yuyan panicked. Wasn't that quota already designated for Nyogue? Ban Tu hinted, eyes glinting. Do you not want to enter the inner courtyard because you're afraid of offending Tan Hung? Li Yuyan sighed and answered, how could I dare offend Master Tan? Tan Hung had trained the white circle flying wind hammer to full success years ago. His internal strength was deep, not comparable to ordinary guards. Rumor said the shop decided to make him head of the guards, ranking just below the 3 senior stewards. Now he only needs to break through his inner force. Ban Tu was unconcerned. So what if you offend him? Our forge has existed over 200 years and has rules. Even if he becomes head, he can't cover the sky with one hand. Li Yuyan was bewildered, thinking, wasn't he the one who rushed to curry favor with Tan Hung before? Ban Tu began to explain seriously. You read, so you understand. Some things belong to you, but if you don't fight for them, they'll never come to you. I'm a simple scholar and warrior who supports someone of your background. Even if you enter the school, how far can you go? He nodded, voice low. You're right. Ban Tu pushed the wine bowl toward him. Whether you chung or not is up to you. I see your talent. I'm saying this casually. If you don't want it, that's your choice. He raised the bowl and replied, yes, thank you, master, for the guidance. Under the dim lamp in the room, Ban Tu, slightly tipsy from the wine, snored on the chair, his large form like a small mountain. Li Yuyan gently opened the door, stepped out into the cold night, his heart filled with determination. Now that he'd entered the school and drunk the tonic wine, he felt refreshed. While the iron was still hot, he must continue training tonight, he told himself, eyes glittering with resolve. While training in the middle courtyard, Li Yuyan felt a warm current of blood flow through his body, as if he were immersed in a hot spring. His body relaxed unusually, each muscle loosened, and his mind was clear. After 3 periods of deep sleep, he woke full of vigor with no fatigue. The book said mastery shows when you can raise the hammer 8 times, but I raised it 11, he thought, his mind bright and heart elated. He trained relentlessly until dawn, snow drifting down to carpet the yard white. Nyogue, rubbing his tired eyes as he woke, saw Li Yuyan's diligence and couldn't help but be annoyed. Li Yuyan up early again? He lied before saying he wasn't training, but it turns out he's secretly training every day. What a sly brat, he loudly called out. I want to spar with you. But hearing his own stammering voice, Nyogue suddenly felt the worry inside him. Li Yuyan flatly refused in a cold tone. Not interested. The dismissive attitude enraged Nyogue, his face flushing. Just then, Ban Tu called to Li Yuyan. Someone's here to see you. Watching his back leave, Nyogue muttered. He dares refuse me. He must be afraid. Definitely. Curious, Li Yuyan asked. Second brother? Is it you again? He shook his head, voice stern. Not second brother. It's a government clerk. A man in a clerk's robe, solemn in bearing, stepped forward to block him and introduced himself. I am Cowdat, sent to investigate a homicide. I have questions to ask. Li Yuyan startled, heart pounding. A homicide? Could something have happened to second brother? Cowdat barked with a disdainful look. Answer directly. Do not hide anything. He obediently replied. Yes, sir. Cowdat began his questioning. The day before yesterday at noon when you went to Sai Fish Market to buy things, there was a spice seller named Lu Tam. Do you remember him? Lu Yuyan breathed a sigh of relief, thinking silently. Luckily, it's not related to second brother. He honestly declared, Sir, I did buy some spices at his stall that day. Cao Dat frowned, skeptical. Only spices? Lu Yuyan nodded, inwardly cursing. Nonsense. The 6 harmony shoes were a gift. I didn't buy them. He answered firmly. That's right. Cao Dat still didn't believe it. Is that so? Ban Tu, standing beside him, interjected to support him. I told him to go buy supplies. How much he spent and the prices are all recorded. Even if he ate tiger liver and bear gall, he wouldn't dare lie to me. Hearing that, Cao Dat finally eased, his voice cold. All right, my questions are done. Continue your business. I will go investigate other houses. The two respectfully saw him off. Travel safely, sir. Tan Hung, standing nearby, frowned at Ban Tu, thinking to himself. Fat Tun actually defended Lu Yuyan. Ban Tu smiled faintly, voice full of meaning. Cao Dat is both rotten and stubborn. Skilled in martial arts but still just a street patrol. His boss, Cao Long, is a formidable figure. I'm only stating facts. If Lu Yuyan were involved in the homicide, it wouldn't concern me. Lu Yuyan quickly affirmed. Master, rest assured. This has nothing to do with me. Ban Tu nodded. Good then. Lu Yuyan fell into thought, pondering. In the Great Era, the state was founded by force, martial law was fierce, and penalties harsh. Once a killer was caught, they wouldn't wait until autumn to be executed. Ban Tu lowered his voice to reveal. A whole household of 6, Lu Truc Dao's family, and 5 neighbors were all killed by the same perpetrator. I suspected a Tui, but that doesn't fit. Why would he kill a street vendor? Lu Yuyan was astonished. More than a dozen people killed, a mass murder, but a Tui didn't look like someone who would do that. Ban Tu warned solemnly. Besides gang fights, Lu County has never seen such a brutal massacre of civilians. The city is under curfew. Don't leave the forge for a while. That bastard must be insane. He even killed an innocent street vendor. Lu Yuyan froze, suddenly thinking. Could it be because of the 6 harmony shoe? That shoe was sold by Lu Truc Dao to the peddler. Could it be a coincidence? Killing dozens over a torn shoe. What kind of reason is that? He quickly decided. No, he must send word to second brother. I won't go home until the killer is caught. I must tell second brother and his wife to keep their doors shut. Seeing him dazed, Ban Tu barked. Hey, what are you staring at? Get to work. Lu Yuyan hurried after him. Coming. From afar, Cao Dat looked at him with cold eyes, sensing he was hiding something. Tan Hung spoke up. If Brother Cao suspects him, bring him to the county office. Cao Dat replied irritably. You can't arrest someone without evidence. Tan Hung probed. Brother Cao is really upright. Will you be going to Lai Hop Martial Hall soon? Wang Luan isn't easy to deal with. Cao Dat snorted coldly. So what about Lai Hop Martial Hall? No matter how skilled Wang Luan is, can he match my boss? The Great Yun rose by martial power. If the court couldn't suppress lawbreakers, the world would have fallen into chaos long ago. Under the dim glow of an oil lamp at the street corner, Tan Hung's eyes flashed with surprise as he said in a low voice, Really? I heard a Tui has extraordinary talent. Within half a year, he raised Lai Hop Scatterpalm to minor success. Wang Luan seems to be preparing to take him to Divine Arms Valley. If Brother Cao wants to arrest him, you must get there quickly. Hearing this, Cao Dat's brows knit, voice full of surprise. Divine Arms Valley? Tan Hung stood behind and added with implication, pouring oil on the fire. The Great Yun truly rose by martial power, but behind that saying is another. Sects rule the world together. The clerks received orders and quietly searched houses near the murder site. A heavy atmosphere settled over Lu County. In a shabby, damp room, Tran Fong curled up in a corner, his eyes bloodshot with fury as he muttered bitterly. A tiger on the plains being violated by hounds. He took out his anger on the man on the floor, roaring, You bastard! I stripped you of your clothes, and now you've even taken my shoes. Not stopping there, Tran Fong threw 2 consecutive punches at his opponent's face, but his rage was still far from spent. He growled. His mouth, You still can't be killed by me right now. If you're dead, I lose my food. He listed his enemies in a voice cold as ice. Cao Long, Wang Luan, Chao Diem, Vu Chan Lam, King. Wait until I recover. You will wish you were dead. Tran Fong cracked the door open slightly, his cold gaze sweeping outside as he hissed threateningly. Dare to take my stuff. Snow blanketed the land white, cold wind whistling through every crevice. In the stillness of the night, Lu Yuyan hid in the closed room, intently examining the six-harmony boot, full of suspicion. Could this shoe hide some secret? At first glance, there was nothing special. He carefully turned every corner, inspecting every small detail. Being too rough, he ripped the sole off, damaging it worse than expected. But unexpectedly, under the insole, he found faint lines of writing. Lu Yuyan read carefully, heart pounding. Bin Dao Dao Sat Chue, Secret Martial Manual? He was stunned, thinking, did someone really hide a secret martial manual in the sole of a shoe? Bin Dao Fighting Hammer Technique. The name alone sounds terrifying. Could it be the kind that destroys the body? He knew this was a clandestine art of Divine Arms Valley, ranked 18th on Trap Long Prefecture's list of superior martial techniques. Supreme martial art? Then is the White Circle Flying Wind Hammer an intermediate or lower grade art? He reasoned, eyes brooding. Lu Truc Dao was surely killed because of this six-harmony boot. The killer knew it fell into my hands and may have been watching me. Lu Yuyan's mind was tangled, regret and worry. Fate, fortune and misfortune at once. Going all out like this? He mocked himself. No battlefield lore, no killing technique, just a fragment. After all, it's just a shoe, at most half the pages, probably only striking techniques. There are 72 paths. At minimum, you must master one hammer path to be considered entry-level. But he suddenly felt a heavy weight. This hammer method has 81 variations. Why yet another hammer art? And this is one of the 5 top secret arts of Divine Arms Valley. Being watched, I have no other choice. His gaze hardened. Train. Even if I must train until I die, I will train. The curfew in Chao Lu County lasted over 2 months before the new year. Even Prefect Lo Vinton, though reluctant, had to lift the curfew and switch to covert searches. In a ruined, desolate corner, Tran Fong sat motionless, snow covering him, his body trembling from severe wounds. He clenched his teeth, voice full of grievance. A small county with so many internal energy masters? Divine Arms Valley truly is the top sect of Trap Long. 5 Jade Poison Blade, Truck Blade Man Vuchan. This stroke nearly killed me. I must go. He grabbed the outer coat from the desiccated corpse behind him, threw it on, and silently left his hiding place. As he stepped outside, fireworks blossomed across the sky, brightening the cold night. The air was bitterly cold. An apprentice shivering behind the door complained, "The snow's too heavy. I really don't want to go out." His body shook from the cutting cold, but looking out into the yard, he was amazed and full of admiration. Training non-stop even with frozen ground and bitter cold? Respect. Nyo Gue, undeterred by the cold, trained tirelessly, his sweat mixing with falling snow. He slammed his iron hammer forcefully onto the ground, exclaiming excitedly, "I've entered the school." The other apprentices rushed over cheering. "Nyo bro, you've entered the school? Nyo bro is amazing. When will I enter? I'm so jealous," they continued, voices eager. "Nyo Gue can surely advance to the inner courtyard. Don't forget us when you do." "Of course not. Nyo Gue's not someone those others can compare to." Nyo Gue measured things in his mind, eyes flashing with vanity. He's been away over 2 months. Could he have entered the school too? Probably not. He's clever, but his master didn't teach him breathing methods, and his family is poor. An apprentice reminded them, "Get back to work. Master Tu will be up soon." Nyo Gue, already drawing lines, said arrogantly, "Don't hang around with these people anymore. They're definitely low class and not my concern." He muttered, "I must hurry and tell Master I'm accepted." Lu Yuyan's probably doing chores? Go check. At Lu Yuyan's courtyard, Nyo Gue sighed with relief when he saw the door ajar. Not locked, but the sight inside shocked him. His eyes widened in horror. A snowman was holding an iron hammer high. "You, Snow, He anxiously pushed the door open and stepped in. Could Lu Yuyan have frozen to death? But at that moment, the snowman exploded, snow flying in a blizzard. Lu Yuyan's silhouette appeared, steady as a mountain, commanding the raging blizzard. He turned, the bitter wind and snow blasting straight into Nyo Gue, nearly knocking him over. Nyo Gue stood in the storm, panicked, exclaiming in astonishment, "What is going on?" Each of Lu Yuyan's moves was sharp, transcendent and subtle, like fire entwined with the swirling snow and wind. He raised the iron hammer high, an explosive force erupting as strong cold auras radiated out, making the space tremble. Nyo Gue stood there, his expression darkening, unable to accept the reality before him. Lu Yuyan had mastered the white circle flying wind hammer. Impossible. He must immediately inform his master. Meanwhile, Lu Yuyan pondered, his eyes gleaming with resolve. If I keep practicing with a single hammer, the technique may not advance. But if I can wield 2 hammers in succession, won't I rival a minor master? Just then, Ban Tu entered, his deep voice demanding, "You owe me 12 taels." Lu Yuyan scratched his head sheepishly and asked softly, "Boss, could you lend me some again?" Ban Tu barked decisively, "Get out!" But seeing him still pleading, he sighed, "If it weren't for seeing how fast your training has progressed, I wouldn't lend you a single coin. So how much this time?" Hearing the amount, Ban Tu turned purple with anger. 13 taels? You really think you're entitled to the world? Lu Yuyan still looked curious and asked, "By the way, boss, did you hear what happened in town a few days ago? It sounded like some major disturbance." Ban Tu's expression darkened as he recounted, "The night before, the head steward was hosting Wang Luan, the owner of Lai Hop Martial Hall. After the banquet ended, someone at the door suddenly went on a murderous rampage. Owner Wang nearly lost his life. The steward, enraged, apprehended the culprit and sent him to the grand jail." Lu Yuyan, full of curiosity, asked, "Did the steward capture the perpetrator?" Ban Tu nodded. "Luckily he acted in time. Owner Wang is fine. But unfortunately, one of his disciples." Just then, Tan Hung entered the small yard, his voice commanding, "Lu Yuyan, come with me." Ban Tu reassured him with a look. "It's fine, go." Lu Yuyan observed Tan Hung and felt his aura stronger than before, well-defined muscles nearly 2 zhang tall, a pressure that made others gasp. Entering the closed room, Tan Hung looked him in the eye, his voice booming like thunder. "You must have guessed why I called you, haven't you?" Lu Yuyan respectfully bowed. "Your disciple knows, sir." Tan Hung nodded, showing approval. "Your stance in the white circle hammer technique channels blood and qi throughout the body. Your talent is indeed excellent." Lu Yuyan replied modestly, "It's thanks to Master Tan's guidance." But Tan Hung's expression suddenly darkened, like an approaching storm. "Guidance? Although your innate foundation isn't as strong as Nyo Gue's, you are unusually suited to the white circle flying wind hammer. With this progress, the quota from the middle courtyard to the inner courtyard should be yours. But I promise someone else. This time I must put Nyo Gue into the inner courtyard. Do you object?" Lu Yuyan remained respectful. "Your disciple dares not." Tan Hung saw through him coldly. "You dare not. But that doesn't mean you have no objections. Previously, the inner courtyard exams were held every few years, but now they're annual. With your progress, next year's inner courtyard quota would surely be yours. Go." Lu Yuyan took his leave, but inwardly thought, "What's the difference between this year and next? Next year might not bring another chance." Nyo Gue stood in a corner and humbly begged Tan Hung, "Master, I'll wait another year to enter the inner courtyard." Tan Hung frowned, resolute. "Wait a year? By then the middle courtyard will become the outer courtyard. Tu Lin will enter the later courtyard, and the vice dean and others will have people pushed in. Let me be clear, you must enter the inner courtyard this year. Waiting another year will be too late. Next spring, Divine Arms Valley will open the initial gate. The hall has already spent a lot for this opportunity." He continued, hopeful. "At the latest next year, inner courtyard disciples must depart for Trap Long Prefecture. If you wait longer, Divine Arms Valley's initial gate will close. When Divine Arms Valley accepts disciples, innate foundation is the most important. Your foundation is only mid-low and can't pass the first gate. But your talent is mid-high and your progress is extraordinary. If you are inducted into Divine Arms Valley, it will be the greatest blessing of your life. After saying this, Tan Hung tossed Nyo Gue a small vial. Nyo Gue's hands trembled, still processing the news, stammering, Divine Arms Valley. I can really enter Divine Arms Valley. Tan Hung patted his shoulder in a warm baritone. Train well. Don't disappoint my expectations. Nyo Gue hurriedly replied, Yes. Yes, sir. Lu Yuyan stood outside watching Tan Hung, thinking to himself, he must have broken through his inner chi. If he becomes the captain of the guard, I wonder if Tun Bio can handle it? Tun Bio has treated me well. I absolutely cannot disappoint him. Determination burning, Lu Yuyan stepped onto the street full of hope. Go stroll and see if today luck yields any entry-level weapon. He activated his scan, eyes sweeping the crowd, noticing weapons on them faintly glinting pale gold. He sighed in regret. No wonder Chao Liu's Grand Fair is once a year. So many entry-level weapons, yet none are mine. Suddenly his gaze fixed on a sickle at the roadside, held by an old man. Lu Yuyan approached, curious. Old sir, how much for that sickle? Inwardly he assessed it, the blade over 30 centimeters, not much like a farming tool. The old man startled, hesitating. Huh? You want to buy my sickle? This sickle was left by him. It's been with me my whole life. I can't bear to sell it. His grandson beside him advised. Grandpa, why keep that worn sickle? Lu Yuyan bowed slightly, voice soft but sincere. Could you let me try it once? The old man looked conflicted, then carefully handed the sickle over with a warning. Then be careful. The blade has many cracks but it's very sharp. Lu Yuyan took it, examined it thoroughly, not overly surprised inwardly. Sure enough, it's an entry-level weapon. The system displayed detailed information. Tam Gwyn sickle, military grade, forged from superior mysterious iron, tempered 18 times. Its owner loved it madly, used it to drink the blood of enemies and harvest crops for 100 years. The blade wore down and developed a spiritual anomaly. Requirement: master any slashing technique. Effect: increases sword and sickle technique to great completion. Grants proficiency with long-handled polearms. He was astonished, heart racing. Far better than the Six Harmony boot. Not only did it grant the Kuma sword sickle technique at great completion, but the system also warned in a cold tone. Proficiency in commanding troops, long-handled sword sickle is extremely difficult to learn. It's not the blade's fault. No matter how astonishing the talent, it's hard to master. But thanks to the original owner's dedication and talent, Lu Yuyan rejoiced. Fortune at last. He quickly bargained. I want this sickle. I'll offer 3 taels. The old man was stunned. 3 taels? So much? Lu Yuyan nodded, eyes shining. Yes, it caught my eye. After successfully buying it, he slipped into a deserted alley, excitement unceasing. As usual, Lu Yuyan activated its use, calculating silently. The white circle flying wind hammer is mastered. Hammer training no longer yields much. This sickle is a perfect replacement. Immediately, a stream of strange golden energy enveloped his body. A powerful pressure descended, forcing him to his knees. Once the crushing sensation passed, Lu Yuyan breathed out. Incredible! I'm rich, I'm rich. 13 moves of the Kuma sword sickle technique were directly cultivated from nothing to great completion. Incredible! Truly the pinnacle. White circle hammer at mastery, sword sickle technique at great completion, plus a portion of the warfare hammer combat path, combined with proficiency in commanding troops. Now can I beat Tan Hung? I wonder? At the Lu household, his sister-in-law's voice rang sharp as a blade. I've risked my life to earn money to pay off your debts, and you still borrow. Lu Lam replied plaintively. I don't understand why they're asking me to repay now. It's clearly not due yet. Lu Yuyan stood outside, quietly picking up a stick from the wall, testing its hardness. Adequate for use. He began to make a plan, his eyes flashing with determination. This is Tian Bao, right? Is this the feeling of mastering troop command? If those thugs strike first, I have no choice but to fight back. The smile on his face gradually lost its gentleness. He leapt onto the roof and carefully lifted a brick, observing the situation below. Inside, 3 ruffians were drinking and shouting. It's just an old Cho Huang's woman. What's the boss waiting for? Why not grab her for fun? Another sneered. Does cowardly Lu Lam dare report this to the authorities? The third added, you don't know. Before the boss got rich, his whole family worked for the Lu household. They only watched others get married. Anyway, that woman may be sharp-tongued, but she's got some looks. Lu Yuyan heard this and boiled with rage. Ha Tianbao once worked for my family, and they dare assault my sister-in-law. He grit his teeth. I hardly got to come home during my hard times, and these guys ruin it. Don't you think they deserve to die? Seeing them drunk and out of control, he couldn't stand it and muttered, no, I have to deal with this. 2 of them stumbled out to the yard to relieve themselves. Completely unaware that danger was near, Lu Yuyan's eyes narrowed, thinking grimly. Seizing the opportunity, he swung the stick and jumped down to strike hard. Both men trembled and cried out in pain. He thought to himself, these 2 scoundrels took one of my blows. Seems like a serious concussion. The third, plastered drunk, staggered out calling loudly, Lao Jiu Vongyu? Where are you? Did you fall into the cesspit? Lu Yuyan didn't hesitate and knocked him down with the stick. Go eat shit. The noise made some men inside rush out, shouting, who's there? What's that racket? Seeing his comrades sprawled everywhere, Ha Tianbao's face darkened. He pointed his sword at Lu Yuyan and bellowed, you dare cause trouble here? Lu Yuyan moved like lightning, his movements uncanny, taking down each man. In moments he stood at the main doorway, looking at the ruffians strewn about. He sneered, I haven't even used the hammer. Just 1 stick and you fall. With such poor aptitude, how can you even be thugs? Ha Tianbao trembled with rage, shouting, who are you to dare? You dare sneak attack me? Lu Yuyan said nothing and delivered another blow with the stick. Ha Tianbao's face ballooned, cursing, damn you! But Lu Yuyan grew more furious, shouting, you bastard! Your fat ass is covered in grease. Disgusting. Godi! The final kick sent Ha Tianbao rolling unconscious, his face contorted. Lu Yuyan was satisfied with his work, thinking his kicking power wasn't bad. But there was no time to gloat. He had to get to the real task. He hurriedly ransacked the room and finally found a chest. Opening it, he saw IOU papers and immediately tore them to pieces. You loan money at such high interest? Looking at the pile of valuables inside, he thrilled. Isn't this money stolen from scoundrels? I'm enforcing justice, reluctantly taking it. Lu Yuyan carefully scooped up everything of value, his movements quick, his eyes glittering with the joy of victory. Finished, he stepped outside. He gleefully told himself, I acted discreetly, didn't say a word, and kept my face covered. There'll be no trace left. He snorted, thinking of the ruffians. This was self-defense, right? Who told them to wag their asses in my face? This time was a warning. I didn't beat them to death because I'm not ruthless enough yet. Don't let me see you again. Otherwise Ha Tianbao will lose everything, be ruined and mad, and won't dare show up to cause trouble for at least half a year. Lu Yuyan felt content, thinking inwardly, being a good person sure feels good. The night was bitterly cold. Each of his breaths turned to white mist, blending into the frigid air. Under the brilliant moonlight, Lu Yuyan stood still, his eyes blazing with determination. Snow fell thickly, signaling that our Daoist sect was about to ascend. You learned the lesson. Martial arts are easy to study but hard to master. It's not just techniques but the qi and bloodline, rooted in the body. Without medicinal aids, you'd have to train painfully for 5 years. With the current aptitude, 1 year with herbal support will suffice. Just then, a packet of herbs flew straight at his face. Bantu's deep voice barked, All right, stop training. Take it. I've gotten the alchemical materials you need. This is all my money, boy. Don't disappoint me. Lu Yuyan was filled with gratitude and replied immediately, Uncle, I'll definitely pay you back quickly.
Bantu snok kon li, un kon vin.
From proficiency to minor mastery, even with superior foundation, it still takes a year with medicinal aid. Lu Yuyan interrupted, swearing, I'll definitely be faster. Band 2 assigned duties in a stern voice. With the new year coming, you have 2 days off, but it's best you stay at the shop. Sainggu Ward is chaotic. Heard a gang of thugs were badly beaten by someone. If you must go home, be back on the morning of the 2nd day of the new year. Miss the internal academy exam and I'll sell you to get my money back.
Liu Yan replied perfunctorily, all right, I remember.
But in his heart he was smug. Sorry, that was me who beat them. At home, Liu Yuyan asked curiously, eyes sharp, second brother, did Tian Bao's parents used to work for our family? Lil Lam shook his head calmly. No, it was actually Tan Hung. He's on good terms with our family. He told me the smithy was recruiting apprentices.
Le Huyen froze, à trait welling up, Tanhugne.
He gritted his teeth, so it was him targeting big brother and sister-in-law. I won't miss the internal exam. Irritated, he raised his cup of wine and drained it in one gulp, slamming it onto the table and resolutely swearing. This internal academy will be ours. Checking his weapons, Liu Yuyan muttered, 58 more variations to practice before mastering the top move of the combat armament path. Now that I have money, I must find a golden life seal to upgrade to chief weaponsmith rank. Then controlling 2 weapons at once and taking down Tan Hung won't be an issue. At that moment at Ha Tian Bao, Tan Hung entered and saw the gang of ruffians covered in injuries. Ngo Kui hurriedly reported, Brother-in-law, the investigations say the culprits are still being looked into. I also heard a Tui left Lai Hop Martial Hall after nursing his wounds for a few days. No one has seen him these past few days. His injuries aren't healed. Could it be him? Tan Hung pondered, eyes cold. Ho Bitch Tui was frozen and alone, injured. He couldn't have healed properly. Suddenly missing. Did he go fishing? Why would I believe that? He turned to Ngo Kui. 2 months ago I taught you some internal exam drills. I hope you won't disappoint me. Ngo Kui tensed, stammering. Brother-in-law, I won't let you down. Outside, snow blanketed the entire courtyard. Liu Yuyan looked at a distant figure and wondered. Could it be Vong Kung, the 3rd son of 3rd chief, has come to take the exam? Ban Tu revealed firmly. Vong Kung, Tu Min, the youngest daughter of Zhao's head, and a few others have temporarily slipped in from some inner-city clans. They won't take your places, so don't worry. Liu Yuyan was surprised. Oh, special favors? Ban Tu warned seriously. What you should worry about is the 3rd item of this year's internal exam. It's become a bone-setting exercise. Before it was stances, hammer technique, and strength, but now it's innate foundation. And your foundation is somewhat troublesome. Liu Yuyan thought to himself, suspicion rising. Could Tan Hung have had a hand in this? Ban Tu encouraged him. In any case, do your best, don't hide your fighting spirit, or you'll regret it for life. I'm not worried you won't repay the money. Liu Yuyan replied clearly, voice resolute. Uncle, I will not disappoint your expectations. The apprentices lined up neatly. In the distance were the examiners, 2nd steward Duong Dong, forge master Tao Diem, and 3rd steward Vong Din. Tao Diem spoke in a solemn tone. Tan Hung, announce the rules. Tan Hung accepted the order, his voice ringing clearly. Our forge has been passed down for 237 years. To preserve the family business, we established an inner academy. Talented apprentices are admitted, receive 1 tael of silver per month, are exempt from chores, and an instructor will teach basics under the 2nd steward. Each session at least 1 person is chosen. All participants receive 1 month's wages. Remember the beneficence of the housemaster. The apprentices shouted in unison. Tan Hung divided them into groups, his voice cold. Do you have the white circle flying wind hammer for entry? Seeing Liu Yuyan step forward, he was inwardly furious. I told that brat not to, and he still dares. He declared, You are not permitted. First check the foundation. Good foundation you may enter. Poor foundation you are not allowed. In the pale morning sun, the apprentices sweated, carrying heavy slabs to prepare for the exam. Tan Hung's voice thundered as he announced the rules. 1 at a time, strike those iron blocks to show your skill to the stewards. All the apprentices quickly took their places, standing before the gleaming iron hammers. Lu Yuyan's eyes sharp. He lifted the hammer. The heavy pressure made the tiled floor beneath his feet sink. He swung the hammer, his momentum erupting, and struck hard. Sparks flew everywhere like falling stars. Tan Heng watched the performance, stunned, his voice trembling. White circle flying wind hammer at the refined level? Forge master Tao Diem nodded in satisfaction, his eyes shining brightly. Lu Yuyan did not stop, delivering another hammer blow. The force was so strong it made the air vibrate. Second steward Duong Dong excitedly slammed the table and stood up, exclaiming, "It's minor mastery," Tao Diem added in praise. "Not just minor mastery. His qi and blood aren't yet sufficient, but his hammer technique certainly reaches minor mastery, and he's also comprehended the outer three harmonies." He angrily shouted at the person in front who was blocking Tan Heng's view. "Move aside. Don't stand in the way." Tan Heng was dumbfounded, thinking, "Impossible. I once tested his foundation as below mid-grade. To reach minor mastery in just 4 months, even a supreme foundation couldn't do that." Lu Yuyan ignored the suspicious glances and continued swinging the hammer. Each strike sent brilliant sparks flying. Ban Tu stood beside him, clapping continuously and praising excitedly. "Good!" Confidence swelled in Lu Yuyan. He thought to himself, with hammer training plus mastery of the white circle flying wind hammer technique, mastery plus mastery, wouldn't that be minor mastery? But as he swung the next blow, an unexpected incident made his face turn pale.
Danger.
The iron hammer, due to excessive force, unexpectedly slipped and flew straight toward Niu Kui. At that moment, a figure darted forward. A strong hand clamped down on the hammer's handle. Tan Heng appeared just in time, looking at him coldly. "Lu Yuyan, didn't you realize? My sect has eyes." Duong Dong on the judge's platform praised. After more than 4 months of training, he not only comprehended the outer three harmonies, but has nearly brought his hammer technique to minor mastery. "Good, very good. Kid, what's your name?" Ban Tu puffed his chest and interjected proudly. "Lu Yuyan, his name is Lu Yuyan. I taught him the breathing method." He pondered and assessed, his voice firm. "Head steward, this young man is unusually gifted. His foundation is not inferior. He may be the top candidate in this exam." Tao Diem's eyes showed approval as he asked, "What does the third steward think?" Vong Din stroked his beard and affirmed, "Outstanding ability, truly astonishing talent. But the inner academy is crowded. The second steward will be hard-pressed to cover everything." He suggested, "Guardian Tan, you two go teach him." Tan Heng cast a furtive glance at Lu Yuyan and replied respectfully, "We will follow the steward's orders." But Lu Yuyan suspected inwardly, this old man isn't entirely trustworthy. He took to Tan Heng too quickly. Something shady might be going on. Duong Dong turned to him, voice steady. "And you? Do you want to be Guardian Tan's disciple or enter the inner academy?" Lu Yuyan answered without hesitation, "Enter the inner academy, sir." Duong Dong smiled and nodded. "Then I'll have senior brother Nak bring the manual to your residence. Watch and practice. In 7 days I'll personally test you." Lu Yuyan clasped his hands and bowed. "Thank you, master," he announced happily. "Good." The others continued the exam. "Lu Yuyan, go have your foundation checked first." He promptly accepted the order. Tan Heng's eyes briefly showed displeasure as he glanced at him. That afternoon in the forge, the clang of hammers echoed. Old Truong's hands, as hard as steel, squeezed Lu Yuyan's hand. He commented with satisfaction, "Not bad. Below mid-grade." Lu Yuyan was astonished, thinking, this old man's strength is immense. Someone nearby breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, it's only lower mid. He asked curiously, voice serious, "Sir, what exactly does this foundation test show? What's good? What's bad?" Old Truong, seasoned, explained enthusiastically, "Feeling the bones is like assessing a horse's conformation. It's all distilled from the ancestral forebears' observational experience." He made an enticing offer. "Kid, do you want to join our forge? The white circle flying wind hammer improves faster with fresh iron." Lu Yuyan, delighted, proposed, "I'd like to see the warehouse first before deciding." "Okay?" The master arms list resonated in his head. Old Truong's warehouse surely held good gear. Joining the forge would mean cheaper materials. Old Truong generously stood and said, "You placed first, so it's fine to show you. Come, I'll take you to choose a hammer that suits your hand." Seeing them leave, a dissatisfied apprentice muttered, "First place? His foundation isn't as good as mine. If I train harder, I'll surpass him." The guards saluted the high-ranking man respectfully. The old man briskly instructed, "Take this youngster to pick a good hammer and register him under the name Liu Yuyan." They responded in unison. The guard respectfully opened the door and invited them in. Liu Yuyan entered, sensing something strange as the master arms list reacted even more strongly. Old Truong signaled softly, "Follow me." Liu Yuyan's eyes shone as he obediently followed, voice respectful, "Yes, sir." As soon as they entered the warehouse, Old Truong's face lit up. He excitedly showed two gleaming treasures under the oil lamp. "These are the Bitch Tui dagger and the Tan Song sword, two renowned weapons of our forge. They also enjoy considerable fame in Trap Long Prefecture." Liu Yuyan quietly scanned the warehouse, his gaze sweeping each corner, silently confirming. This place certainly has entry-grade weapons, not just one, but several. Old Truong carefully pointed at a shimmering blue-bladed saber. This bitch-knock saber was forged by the old master years ago. Only a few remain. It's extremely sharp. If you're careless, you'll lose a finger. He casually held the saber up before Liu Yuyan's eager eyes, then tested its durability with a light slash. He nodded, voice low, "A fine blade." Then he turned to him, his gaze deep. "Do you understand what a fine blade is? The best weapon users in the world aren't swordsmen or bladesmen, but blacksmiths like us. Every inch of pattern on this saber was made by my hand." At that moment, the system in Liu Yuyan's head displayed detailed information. Bitch-knock saber, rank 1, forged by a craftsman determined to become a forging god. Using 100 tempering soul steel and the cold iron hammer, it can cut hair off the skin and kill without visible blood, called a deadly weapon. Requirements: veteran blacksmith. Any saber technique at minor mastery. Effects: mastery of saber techniques, light saber draw, forging entry. Excitement burned in Liu Yuyan's chest. Rank 1 with 3 effects. He wanted to use it immediately. Old Truong's experienced eyes earnestly suggested, "With your talent, if you study under this old man, you'll quickly forge a deadly weapon." Liu Yuyan got straight to the point. "Old Truong, where's your hammer?" The kindly old man pointed ahead, his voice warm. "Over there." Liu Yuyan was briefly speechless, thinking, "He walked me around the warehouse just to show off the bitch-knock sabers?" Old Truong beamed and urged, "Go on, pick one." He explained gently, "Some of these hammers are newly forged, some were left by former apprentices. One of them is mine. If you choose the right one, I'll gift it to you." Without hesitation, Liu Yuyan selected a hammer, his eyes shining. "This is the one." The system immediately displayed. Master hammer, rank 2, tempered by years of fire, transforming ordinary killing into strange life. Requirement: forging technique at minor mastery. Effects: white circle flying wind hammer technique perfected. Mastery of 100 weapons forging at great perfection. Innate weapon talent. Overjoyed, Liu Yuyan inwardly shouted, "Lucky break. Rank 2 hammer with 4 effects." Old Truong widened his eyes at the miraculous pick and asked in surprise, "How did you choose it?" Liu Yuyan replied casually, "It just caught my eye. It felt right in my hand. Could it be yours? What a coincidence." He laughed and observed perceptively, "Yes, quite a coincidence. Among so many hammers, you picked the right one at a glance. Fate isn't thin." Seizing the moment, Liu Yuyan proposed, "If we have such fate, and if you don't mind, I vow to learn forging skills from you." Old Truong teasingly said, "Kid, you're sharp. From now on, what will you call me?" Liu Yuyan's eyes glittered as he asked, "You agree?" He thought. Seeing this hammer, Old Truong's forging skill must be the forge's finest. Becoming his disciple would ease becoming a master arms officer. The old man smiled, paused a few seconds, then declared with satisfaction, "We have fate. Teaching hands is nothing. If this old man's craft dies with me, it's a waste. Good talent and a quick mind. It's lucky to find a seed like you at this age. Lu Yuyan humbly replied, I gratefully accept your kind assessment. Old Truong. He gently helped him up. Stand up, my good disciple. Now, follow your master into the warehouse. Lu Yuyan bowed respectfully. Yes, master. Old Truong stepped deeper into the warehouse and solemnly announced, From this year, the forge will expand. Lu Yuyan was surprised. Expand? The old man asked casually, Do you know Divine Arms Valley? Lu Yuyan bowed slightly and answered modestly, though inwardly proud. Yes, I have heard of it. Not only that, I learned the Bin Dao combat strike hammer technique, the top skill among their 5 great secrets. Old Truong explained clearly. Divine Arms Valley is the major sect that has been passed down for 1,000 years in Trap Long Prefecture. Here, they are like heaven, literally heaven. Lu Yuyan, puzzled, asked curiously, Does the imperial court not govern them? Old Truong shook his head in dismay. The commanders of more than 10 districts in Trap Long Prefecture all come from Divine Arms Valley. Even the imperial court can't suppress them. Lu Yuyan exclaimed in shock. Is that still a sect? Even dukes and marquises aren't that dominant. Under the dim oil lamp in the forge warehouse, Old Truong's penetrating gaze seemed to see everything as he revealed a secret. In recent years, the shop's operations have been tightly linked with Divine Arms Valley. Their power and prestige span across Trap Long Prefecture. Then he narrowed his eyes, his look laden with deeper meaning, and instructed. In spring, Divine Arms Valley will open its mountain gate to welcome all, regardless of background or entry status. Do you understand what I mean, apprentice? Back home, Lu Yuyan felt heavy-hearted, recognizing the looming danger. He thought to himself, Tan Heng must have known this for some time, which is why he pushed Niu Gui into the inner academy. If I delay this year, I might miss a huge opportunity. He resolved, before the mountain gate opens, he must be promoted to Master Arms Officer. Ban Tu entered carrying chickens and a pig with a broad smile and a hearty tone. Yuyan, you're back? Tonight I'll show you my skills. Lu Yuyan replied politely with a smile. Thanks for the generous treat, steward. But inwardly he thought this was the first time the man had been so kind to him. Ban Tu chuckled familiarly and said, Don't call me steward anymore. Call me Tun Hao. If you like, just call me Brother Tun. Lu Yuyan eagerly agreed. All right, Brother Tun. Let me give you a hand. As he plucked the chicken, Ban Tu asked with concern, Have you heard about Divine Arms Valley? If you are accepted, that's like a fish leaping through the dragon gate. If you need anything from me later, say the word. Tun will never refuse. Lu Yuyan, chopping vegetables, spoke directly. Then help me get gold and lifeblood. I have the money. Ban Tu, astonished, eyes wide. Where did you get money to buy gold? Lu Yuyan answered calmly. I earned it. You just need to say whether you'll help. Ban Tu didn't hesitate and nodded. I'll help. A few days later, in a small room at a tea house down the street, Tan Heng, cautious in tone, questioned Cao Dat. Brother Cao, it's been days. Still no leads on that thief? Cao Dat replied apologetically. Nian Jiu hasn't been caught. The magistrate's office is severely understaffed, so we can't trace him for now. Please be patient, Brother Tan. I've already assigned 2 brothers to guard the place for 10 days. The county magistrate Lu was dissatisfied about this and repeatedly ordered Nian Jiu's arrest. Tan Heng anxiously suggested, Why not investigate Lu Yuyan? He has dealings with Ha Tian Bao and sufficient martial skill. He could be a suspect. Cao Dat sighed and analyzed. Although Truong Bai hasn't attained inner qi, years of hammering iron have given him many meridian gains. Even you don't dare provoke him. How could I? Don't forget, my uncle's Tong Long Blade Squad was also repaired by Truong Bai. At that moment, a guard rushed in with urgent news. Brothers say that 2 days ago Wang Er, the fool on the front street, pawned a 100-tael note for 93 taels, and now he's dead. Tan Heng was stunned. What? Cao Dat laughed, sounding regretful. This thief was too cautious. He even hired a fool. The lead died with him. Now it's cut off.
I'm powerless.
I've ordered the men to withdraw. My condolences, Brother Tan. Impatient, Tan Hung asked his subordinate. And you, what did you find? The underling stammered. Master, Lu Yuyan stays at the forge all day. He does nothing but smithing. He probably doesn't have the guts. Disappointed, Tan Hung stood up. Then I won't trouble you any more today, Brother Cow. As he stepped outside, he whispered coldly. Tough on the outside, weak within. Still a thug at heart. Even if he trains inner chi, he's just a ruffian. Just then, a guard burst in breathlessly. Captain Cow, Bamboo Saber Man Vuchan is here again. He's standing at the magistrate's gate demanding to see you. Cowdat sipped his tea and pondered. Vuchan, Nian Jiu. Could they still be in the city? He rose and ordered. Let's go. At the same time, at the forge, Lu Yuyan, full of excitement, slowly opened the door and stepped inside. He saw the furnace blazing, the coals glowing red like the determined fire in his chest. He admired aloud. Brother Tun, you truly have skill. You really are my support. Without delay, he reached out and channeled his energy in. The system immediately displayed. Master Arms Hammer rank 2 Lu Yuyan. Number of weapons controlled, 2. He commented with delight. Rank 2 can finally control Master Hammers. Looking at the hammer before him, Lu Yuyan excitedly guessed this was the hidden attribute of the Futang rank 2. Much more convenient, who knows, there might be other good things. He focused to prepare an experiment, picking up 2 great hammers to use at once. Immediately, he shouted in satisfaction. It worked! After a moment of reflection, he exhaled, feeling as if he'd been forging for decades. No wonder. Rank 2 really is a big difference. Ban 2 returned from the inner courtyard and asked cheerfully, Yuyan, I just came back from the inner yard. The steward is very pleased with you. Previously, did someone teach you the technique? Lu Yuyan replied awkwardly. Master said music senior brother gave me a secret technique manual. Ban 2's face looked like he might cry. Trembling, he asked, You look like you still haven't practiced? I already praised you as the Heavenly Flower Hammer Master. Lu Yuyan, fearing misunderstanding, hurriedly denied. I've learned it, I have. Look, he opened the manual and showed his brother. Ban 2's eyes widened. Horrified at the contents, he exclaimed, The technique uses blood and chi. It's even harder than breath techniques. I gave you 7 days, and you're only just starting. How can you make it? Worried, he hastily decided. No forging today. I'll teach you personally. Lu Yuyan calmly interrupted, gently reassuring. Don't rush. Let me look first. He flipped through the manual, eyes focused, then said calmly, This isn't that difficult. Ban 2, stunned and incredulous. Not difficult? Do you know how long it took me to learn this technique? 3 whole years. Without many words, Lu Yuyan lightly kicked the hammer with his foot, spun and danced like a child, movements fluid and natural. He smiled. Not difficult. Actually quite simple. Ban 2 was in shock, thinking to himself, why did it take me 3 years to learn the technique while this kid finds it easy? He froze. The hammer fell from his hand as his eyes filled with astonishment at such outstanding talent. I've met many with good foundations and high aptitude, but this child's talent is monstrous. Ban 2 sighed sadly and lamented. 3 years of hard training still can't compete. Even Nam Tang in your family has mid-low foundation, yet the talent gap is so vast. Lu Yuyan beamed but remained humble. Although I've mastered the outer triunion, I still need the steward's guidance for the inner triunion. Ban 2 was shocked and stammered. You have already touched the inner triunion? He muttered. A freak, truly a freak. Lu Yuyan awkwardly covered his mouth, thinking he had spoken carelessly. Just then, Tan Hung stood outside the door, voice decisive. Lu Yuyan, come here a moment. He frowned, suspicion rising in his mind. This can't be good.
Bantu urged seriously. Go kropka.
Lu Yuyan pouted and replied. All right. He didn't dare delay and hurriedly followed Tan Hung, crossing the wide training yard where the ringing of hammer strikes still echoed. He wondered, his gaze toward the center of the yard. Who is the person speaking with the second chief of the armory? It was a composed man known as Bamboo Saber Man Vuchan. Tan Hung bowed respectfully, but Lu Yuyan muttered irritably. Why has this old man appeared today when he never stays in the inner yard all year? Duong Dong didn't wait long and went straight to the point, his tone stern. Why would the bamboo saber man, who doesn't arrest imperial criminals, come running to my forge? Lu Yuyan widened his eyes and wondered. The bamboo saber man? The bounty hunter from legend. Vu Chan glanced at him and calmly explained. I only came to ask this young brother a few questions. Lu Yuyan, puzzled, suddenly realized, searching for me, must be related to the Six Harmony Guard. Duong Dong, displeased, retorted sarcastically. The bamboo saber man isn't from the magistrate's office. Bursting in like this, do you mean to put our forge in the spotlight? In the bleak wind, the atmosphere suddenly sank, an unusual silence falling. Vu Chan gave a faint smile, cast a quick glance at him, and hurriedly explained. Brother Duong, you've got the wrong idea. I didn't mean that. I happened to meet Guard Tan at the gate and, at his suggestion, asked to be introduced. Tan Hung in a gentle tone mediated. Brother Vu is here to pursue the culprit. Our forge is in the city. We all help one another. I hope Brother Duong won't hold it against us. Duong Dong nodded, voice steady. I see. He turned to admonish Lu Yuyan. Did you hear clearly? Lu Yuyan replied solemnly. The disciple understands. He humbly clasped his hands and politely asked, May I ask what this hero wishes to inquire? Vu Chan said kindly, I wouldn't dare call myself a hero, but 6 months ago I posted a notice in Trap Long Prefecture calling for the capture of the lone thief Nian Jiugue. After chasing him to Chao Lu, I lost his trail. 3 months before the new year I searched the nearby towns and villages, so I'm certain he's in Chao Lu County. After committing murder, he didn't flee to Fat Q Mountain or Bitch Tui Lake, so he may still be in the city. Nian Jiu was born in Tian Quan Cave and is a wandering cultist. Even the masters of Divine Arms Valley were alarmed. If we don't catch him, he may commit more killings. He looked at him and asked, Young brother, as far as I know you were the last to see the person Nian Jiu killed. Did you buy anything at his stall? Lu Yuyan answered respectfully. Lu Tam to report, young knight. 1 day before Lu Tam was killed I did buy spices from his stall, but only spices. Vu Chan said warmly, Young brother, you don't need to bow so stiffly. But Lu Yuyan, perceptive, noticed a clue and silently grew wary. This is hypnosis. He seems kind, but his mind isn't simple. He probably struck from the very first question. This is dangerous. By the flickering oil lamp, Vu Chan continued in a flowery tone, his gaze sharp as if piercing the heart. Really? Only bought spices? Lu Yuyan scratched his head, a little dazed, and answered honestly. Also bought half a caddy of pork. At that moment, Duong Dong, the second armory chief, erupted in fury, roaring like thunder. Vu Chan! Lu Yuyan startled as if awakening, muttering, What is happening to me? Without more words, Duong Dong brandished his spear, its intent sharp enough to tear the air, and aimed straight at Vu Chan. Vu Chan reacted as fast as lightning, nimble in dodging the strike but still wounded. He was knocked backward. Blood seeped onto his sleeve, his eyes bloodshot, yet he still praised, Fine fist! Fin espéar! Lu Yuyan, having witnessed the move, asked in astonishment, Is that inner chi? Vu Chan, despite the pain, marveled. The green serpent spear is indeed excellent. Duong Dong was not to be outdone and replied, Your 5 poison jade blades renown is well deserved. Vu Chan courteously bowed. My apologies. The pursuit of the culprit is a grave matter. Please, Brother Duong, forgive me. The disciples around them were terrified, holding their breath and not daring to speak. Tan Hung hesitated and called, Old Duong. Duong Dong sat in silence, then said briefly, Go home and instruct him well. He turned his back and, voice cold, ordered, Van Tan, Lu Yuyan, go inside. The rest of you disperse. The disciples murmured in terrified contempt. What 5 poison jade blade? Couldn't even block one strike? Is the green serpent spear really that deadly? Master is too powerful. This man a bamboo saber man hero? I despise him. Inside the room, Van Tan asked worriedly, Master, are you all right? Duong Dong, his hand trembling, looked at the wound and said coldly, "What 5-poison jade blade? It's the 5-poison toxin. His whole body is full of poison. He nearly killed this old man," he explained in a low voice. "The Qing poison pill combined with internal qi can squeeze out the toxin, but it still takes 2 or 3 months to recover. The acute poison is spreading rapidly through his body now." Van Tan asked, "Wu Chan intended to leave. Why did you have to act?" Duong Dong swallowed his anger and said sternly, "If I had let him leave like that, even if I died, I wouldn't have the face to meet your ancestor in the underworld. The Jianghu is full of fame, profit, and killing. Sometimes you must move fast, sometimes slow, sometimes even retreat. Remember what happened today. You will surely encounter this again." Lu Yuyan nodded. "Your disciple remembers." He thought to himself, "If my mind had wavered just now and I blurted out the Bin Dao Dao Sat Chui, never mind Wu Chan, even Divine Arms Valley might have killed me." Van Tan pondered and asked, "Master, what martial art did Wu Chan use? It looked very strange." Duong Dong replied thoughtfully, "That's called a soul-confusing method. Calling it martial arts is a stretch. It's actually a specially made narcotic, colorless and odorless, hard to guard against. But with a steady mind, you won't be affected." He turned and sternly criticized Lu Yuyan. "Given your background, you've tasted enough hardship. Why is your temperament so soft? You disappoint this old man." He waved his hand to signal, "Enough, you all go rest." In the forge, old Truong's eyes shone brightly as he excitedly held the item. 3 parts were already a useful weapon. The difference lay only in the material. He looked at Lu Yuyan with satisfaction. "Boy, you're good, progressing so fast. It was worth sending Tan Hung." Outside in the yard, Ban Tu happily recounted. Tan Hung was assigned to distribute paint. Yesterday the chief steward returned, heard about Wu Chan, scolded him and sent him away. If it had been someone else, they wouldn't have just been sent away like that. Lu Yuyan suddenly remembered something important and asked, "By the way, are you going to Chao Lu Shrine tomorrow?" Ban Tu lazily shook his head. "Not going, I need to train. You're improving so fast. The steward scolded me because of you." He smiled. "Goodbye." He smiled. "Goodbye. Then you train first. I'll go back to tidy up and wash." Back inside, Lu Yuyan briskly opened his room door. As he stepped in, the system displayed a detailed description. Bitch Knock Saber Rank 1, the first sharp long saber forged by Chief Arms Chewy. Control requirement: none. Effect: water skirting pass denied. He stroked the saber and sighed with regret. It couldn't compare to the Bitch Knock sabers his master left in the storage. The forging skill gap was simply too great. Sitting on the bed, he reflected. There is much to learn. His forging techniques must improve. The Bin Dao Dao Sat Chui must not be abandoned. Supreme martial arts are truly difficult. The last 2 variations of the Do Sat Chui are too baffling. But he reluctantly mastered the #1 killing move, Bing Ji. I wonder if he can challenge Qin Xiong now? He really wants to try. Night fell, lanterns glittered along the street, and the people excitedly went to the festival. Lu Yuyan walked forward with excitement, sensing the commander's camp tremble intensely because of the many fine weapons everywhere. Arriving at the center, he was stunned by the magnificent display. A grand arrangement. If he could get a treasure from the deity altar and throw it into the commander's camp, how wonderful that would be. The people knelt and prostrated along both sides of the road, praying devoutly. May the Bodhisattva protect Gaolu County, bring favorable weather, abundant harvests, and bestow blessings. Devout men and women bow. May the Bodhisattva shield us so that we may meet with good fortune. Lu Yuyan silently stared at the Bodhisattva statue. Seeing the countless eyes on it, he was horrified and thought, no wonder it's called the 1,000-eyed Bodhisattva. I'm a little scared. The system immediately analyzed. The stone Bodhisattva with heavenly eyes is second tier. A skilled artisan used celestial stone for the base and talismanic mud to paint the eyes. Revered and offered sacrifices by the people, it absorbs the vital spirit of the populace. The sacred mud beneath the statue's eyes transforms into a blood bead, which is the first-level condition of deity-worshipping techniques. Effect: initiation of the god devotion method causes mental disarray. Heavenly-eyed Bodhisattva worship method. First level. Liu Yuyan suddenly suspected. A second-tier idol counts as a weapon too? This feels a bit heretical. He frowned and decided to step back. Although tempting, it was too deep. Better to let it go. Under the dim glow of dangling lanterns, Liu Yuyan's gaze sharpened as he inspected the weapons displayed across the market. Realizing they were all first-tier and nothing stood out, he thought to himself, puzzled. Of course, second-tier weapons are so expensive, how could ordinary people afford them? He slowly approached the notice board, his eyes scanning the lines, and asked doubtfully, "Has Nianzhou's reward really been raised this much?" Following the bustling crowd, he entered the temple grounds, his attention fixed on another gate bearing the inscription Temple of the Ruined Deity. Liu Yuyan felt uneasy and whispered, "Could this deity statue also be a weapon?" The system in his head immediately displayed the details. The ruined earth deity statue is second tier, crafted by a skilled artisan using ruined red stone and scarlet secret sand to form a model. After years of worship, the statue absorbed the populace's vital spirit. Ruined red stone can be used to forge weapons. Scarlet secret sand can be used in alchemy. Condition: missing hands. Effect: beguiles hearts and calms the mind. Technique: ruined earth heart decision, first level. After hearing this, Liu Yuyan concluded, indeed, it's a second-tier item. Circling to the back of the statue, he pondered aloud, are all deity statues like this? Looking at this scene, is someone intentionally nurturing them? Ordinary wealthy families surely can't afford this. It must be extremely rich people or the court. At that moment a figure appeared. Feng Yuan, calm in bearing, courteously blocked his path and asked in a mild voice, "Little brother, shall I tell your fortune?" Under his keen scrutiny, Liu Yuyan smiled and thought, a fellow practitioner? From the same field. Should he expose himself proactively? Would the next thing the Taoist says be that he's about to suffer a bloody calamity? These people have quite varied occupations, huh? Feng Yuan proudly praised. No wonder you're the outstanding newcomer of the smithy. You also have a keen eye. Seeing the crowd gathered, Liu Yuyan folded his arms and examined them. So they've long targeted me, right? Feng Yuan politely introduced himself. I am Feng Yuan. Several Troc Dao Run from Trap Long Manor are also here. He continued, not exactly targeting you, just seeking some information. For over half a year, our brothers have been tracking you across 1,000 li. It's not easy. I hope you understand, little brother. Liu Yuyan calmly played dumb. As for that Nianzhou, I truly don't know what he looks like. If you're here to question me, you've got the wrong person. Feng Yuan paid no heed and pressed, little brother, we want to know what Cao Dat and Wu Chan asked you. Liu Yuyan clarified. Nianzhou only appeared twice in the city. Once he killed Lu Troc Dao and 2 neighbors, along with a small spice shop owner. The other time he tried to assassinate the owner of the Lai Hop Martial School, Wang Luan. Before he finished, an impatient man interrupted. Boss, why waste words on him? I say we just take a bit of blood first. That brat will only speak the truth then. Feng Yuan smiled and stopped him, his tone implying, if Wu Chan questioned him, it's surely true. But this little brother did say one thing right. He warned them and turned to leave. Soon, I'm afraid you really will meet a bloody misfortune. Watching his figure fade, Liu Yuyan froze and muttered, that torn shoe. Night fell and rain poured. He sat in a corner, focused on stuffing stones into the shoe. After a while of thought, Liu Yuyan flung it over the wall, telling himself, if you all remember it so much, then I'll give it to you. Inside, Cao Dat was struck on the head by the thrown object and roared in anger. Who threw a rock at my head? A shoe? What is this? Seizing the chance, Liu Yuyan ran off as fast as he could, thinking, 3 tails bought that shoe. Sooner or later I'll recover it. While running he set his goals. First train to mastery, master the 6 harmonies technique, cultivate internal force. Then join the Divine Arms Valley. After that no future troubles would be a problem. I must become stronger. At the same time, in Cao Dat's villa he glared and cursed in frustration. Damn thief, that was a perfect throw. Wei Tan respectfully reported, Chief Cao, this is a top-quality 6 harmonies shoe. the exact style of Trap Long Manor. He inspected it and added, "Moreover, there's something under the sole." Cowdat took the paper from the shoe and read slowly, "This can lure Nianjiu. What the hell is written? Even a dog and ox would be clearer." He analyzed suspiciously. "The thief's technique was precise enough to hit the back of my head in the rain from afar. He's not ordinary, but it's only a torn shoe. Can one lure Nianjiu with that?" Cowdat said little and tore open the sole of the shoe. Seeing the material inside, he froze for a few seconds, folding his arms in thought. 6 Harmony's shoes are famed for wear resistance and are sewn as one piece. A layer shouldn't just go missing. Wei Tin asked suspiciously, "Something under the sole? Chief Cow, are you sure there's anything?" Cowdat pondered. "It's not impossible." Wei Tan suddenly proposed, "Could it be Nianjiu can't bear to leave because of this item? The thief hit you on purpose, perhaps wanting us to resolve the aftermath." Cowdat growled aggressively. "Catch Nianjiu. What's there to fear about discovering who this thief is? I'll give him a real lump on the head." The next morning, under pale sunlight, the streets bustled and the curious townsfolk chatted. "Heard a thief broke into the yamen at midnight. What were they trying to steal? I heard from the young yamen clerk that he didn't take documents or money, only tossed one piece of evidence. They say Cow the constable found a torn 6 Harmony's shoe. Beneath the pale sunlight filtering through dense trees, a ragged, lonely beggar suddenly startled awake when the name Cowdat rang out across the noisy market. Inside the smithy, smoke and dust mingled with the clanging of hammers. Duong Dong, his eyes cold as blades, gathered the disciples. His severe voice rolled like thunder across the clear sky. "Today Cow the constable has come to borrow manpower to search for the critically injured Nianjiu. Anyone who agrees to join will get 1 tael whether we capture him or not. If captured, each person will receive 3 taels, half paid by the yamen, half by the shop." The disciples erupted in discontent and loud protest, voices rising like a tide. 3 taels to go catch Nianjiu? You've got to be kidding. Who doesn't know how skilled that Nianjiu is? Isn't this throwing ourselves into death? 3 taels won't even cover a proper funeral. Duong Dong cleared his throat. His voice was low but commanding, quelling all murmurs. "The county decree has ordered it. Each household must send at least 10 people." He decisively dismissed objections and issued an order with unquestionable authority. "Van Tan, you lead No Min, Lu Then, Dien Din, and Liyuyan on this trip. Months without field training. What good is that?" Lu Yuyan and his brothers replied in unison. Loudly, "Yes, sir." Cowdat clasped his hands respectfully. "Second steward, I still need to borrow people from other households. I request leave in advance." As the man's figure disappeared behind the door, Duong Dong's gaze sharpened like a blade. He aggressively confronted the whispering disciples. "What's wrong?" Not willing to go. Van Tan appeared anxious and stepped forward to speak. "Master, we have no problem, but junior brother Lu has only trained 7 or 8 months. Isn't it too soon to go into the field now?" Duong Dong's tone turned cold, each word striking like stone. "What do you call too soon? What do you call too late? When you roam the Jianghu later, will enemies spare you because you're inexperienced? Martial training isn't achieved by hardship alone. Striking techniques aren't perfected by repetition alone. Martial arts require courage. You must dare step into danger." He thundered. That Nianjiu's ambush against Cowdat failed. Cao Long pierced his heart and lungs with 1 strike. Though he's not dead by luck, he's over half ruined. No different from a dying tiger. "With us shielding you, what is there to fear?" The disciples, frightened, hastily complied in unison. "Yes, master. We obey." After the meeting, Duong Dong called Van Tan aside, his voice low but serious. "Your junior brother Lu has extraordinary talent but little training. On this outing you must pay special attention to protecting him."
Bantan nudda sulamli, disipla ramambers.
Duong Dong waved his hand. "Go!"
Bantanan suarat, ias.
Entering the armory, a chill radiated from the weapons. The system in Lu Yuyan's head immediately assessed. Trui can long halberd, shaft dark with burnt bronze hue, great form and heavy force. Requirement: Basic mace/club technique. Effect. Establishes grounding and root. Yields great heavy force. Shatters and hones armor. He pondered, eyes fixed on the cudgel, sensing its weight different from the smith's hammer and wondering if it suited the battle mace path. A senior brother with a dignified bearing and resolute voice called out, "Have you finished choosing? Move out." Lu Yuyan burned with nervous anticipation, gripping the cudgel tightly. The feeling of imminent combat was closing in. The group quickly reached Fat Ku Mountain, where a chill hung in the air and the wind howled through the trees like a warning. Van Tan carefully instructed, "Don't overexert yourselves. Don't stray too far. Withdraw at nightfall. One person stays to mind master's horse." "Understood." Everyone immediately obeyed. "Understood." They pressed into the deep forest, concentrating on searching for clues, scanning every bush and every footprint. Van Tan kept urging, "Move swiftly. Finish searching these hills before dark." Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream ripped through the silent space. Lu Yuyan was startled, gripping the cudgel hard and thinking, could they have found Nian Jiu so quickly? In the distance, Cao Long, who had been observing, also turned his head to look. In the midst of the forest, Nian Jiu, gaunt, struggled to stand amid a pile of corpses. Fresh blood splattered around. He spat a mouthful of blood in furious hatred and snarled, "Wu Chan, Cao Long, and that constable, I'll kill you all." At that moment, a group of people suddenly rushed out from both sides, shouting, "There, Nian Jiu. He's badly wounded. There's a reward for his capture." Amid the pitiful cries, Lu Yuyan's group warily closed ranks, forming a defensive circle. Van Tan urgently ordered, "Fall back. Find hiding places. Stay concealed and protect yourselves." The disciples immediately replied, "Understood." In the next moment, they scattered like lightning. Lu Yuyan hid behind an ancient tree, silently thinking, no wonder the second steward said martial training requires courage. From afar, cries of pleading rose without stop. "Don't kill me. Save me. Here. Seize him. Hurry." Lu Yuyan analyzed thoughtfully. With Nianzhou's methods, yet they still had time to send signals. He must be seriously wounded. Don't rush. Better to be careful. He quickly squatted and hid behind the tall grass. When he looked up, his eyes met a headless corpse, fresh blood still oozing. A small sound suddenly rang out. Lu Yuyan immediately dropped prone. A thief furtively took advantage of the moment to search the corpse, muttering, "You're dead anyway. The wealth will go to others. Might as well give it to me." Lu Yuyan was furious, silently scolding these ruffians. While the thief was engrossed in rifling, a shadow lunged forward. Chi Chuan moved like a blade, pressing the man's head into the ground. Lu Yuyan watched in shock and blurted, "Isn't that one of the Trap Long Manor fighters beside the fake Taoist?" Chi Chuan, pleased, sneered, "The hall isn't huge, but the silver's not small." In the deep, murky darkness of the forest, under silvery moonlight filtering through the leaves, Lu Yuyan prowled like a hunting leopard, observing silently. Chi Chuan was eagerly counting the bag of coins he'd grabbed, his face lit with greedy joy. Before he could enjoy the spoils, Chi Chuan suddenly sprang up, ferocious as a starving tiger, his eyes flashing murderous intent. Lu Yuyan kept from being seen, deftly turning with the breeze, his movement as light as a falling leaf. He swung a strike like thunder, aiming straight for Chi Chuan's head. The man was ambushed from behind, face planted into the ground, groaning in pain. Lu Yuyan cleverly snatched the money pouch, then didn't forget to stamp once on his head before leaving, walking off casually as if he'd just finished a game. Chi Chuan, face smeared with mud, roared in fury, his voice hoarse with pain. "Who on earth was that?" He trembled and moaned, "It hurts." After the brief skirmish, Lu Yuyan felt a surge of exhilaration, breathing heavily as if hot blood raced through his veins. So thrilling, too exciting. This is even more thrilling than beating that Heavenbound. Luckily my mace technique held. If I hadn't controlled my force, I might have killed him. His face flushed, he checked the spoils, eyes shining as he counted. "This is over 20 taels of silver. Making money this way is faster than smithing." Lu Yuyan, brimming with pride, boasted inwardly, I've even triggered the thrusting force. With a master-blessed mace and saber, if faced head-on I could topple him. Failing to finish him when attacking from stealth is really against reason. He smiled, recalling, "Last time you waved a blade to threaten me. Today I avenged that." Lu Yuyan unhurriedly tucked the pouch into his shirt, gripping the cudgel, his eyes sweeping all around, fully alert. Where is Nianzhou? In the distance, Nianzhou's body was covered in wounds and blood. Bitter rage burned in him as he thought, "Die quietly? Wanna kill me? Then we'll all die together." The searchers ordered a comb through. Nianzhou must be nearby. He hid on a high branch, cursing under his breath. Damn it! One eye blazing red, Nianzhou lunged down at terrifying speed. A sharp blade of energy shot out, slicing a man cleanly in front of the leader. A mysterious man wearing a mask spoke in a deep voice. The technique of the Heavenly Army Cave is indeed excellent. Even gravely wounded, he still has strength to slash wildly. He sneered. Inner robustness isn't bad either. Pity the technique is fine, but you're just trash now. It's not that I'm covering for him. Cao Long already cut you long ago. Nianzhou asked suspiciously, bluntly. You were the one who led Cao Long's men here before? Do we know each other? Are you from Chao Lu County? The masked man replied coldly. You don't need to know who I am. Just remember I helped you. One day you'll have to repay the favor. With that he tossed Nianzhou a vial of medicine. Drink this. Leave the pursuers and Cao Long to me. Then his figure vanished into the darkness. Nianzhou watched in astonishment, murmuring, Who exactly are you? How am I supposed to repay you? In his hand was a medicinal pill. On closer inspection, it was a top-grade replenish origin pill. He muttered stubbornly, Tell me to run? Never. Anyone who dares hunt me down will die. On Lu Yuyan's side, he pondered. My chi and blood still aren't unblocked, far from full success, but with a master's mace and the blessing on the thrusting saber, even those trap-long manner fighters with complete chi blood aren't my match. He told himself excitedly, no wonder people say surviving blood combat spares 10 years of hardship. Just a few stealth fights and his striking methods had improved considerably. Suddenly a shout echoed, and he hurriedly hid behind the grass. Outside, screams of alarm mixed with sounds of people being struck. He's here, no one will get away. A body collapsed, blood spreading red on the earth. Nianzhou stepped out, contemptuous. Relying on you lot to catch me. What madness, Lu Yuyan thought in surprise. He's so ferocious even when badly wounded? Nianzhou coldly pulled the knife stuck in his chest, and the wound healed in the blink of an eye. Lu Yuyan wondered, what kind of technique is that? The wound healed so fast. Nianzhou spotted him and growled, A little rat in the smithy. Lu Yuyan realized he'd been discovered and thrust the cudgel forward. The swing missed the air as Nianzhou's body moved with uncanny agility. He was shocked by the mastery of the white plane thrusting mace technique. Lu Yuyan watched his opponent warily. Nianzhou, crazed, charged. Damn it! Your inner force isn't cultivated yet and you dare fight me. You seek death. Repeatedly struck by Lu Yuyan's mace, Nianzhou cursed in frustration. Son of a bitch, Lu Yuyan shouted gleefully. Whether inner force is complete or perfected, I can touch it. Unbelievable thrill. Hitting people with a mace is so satisfying. I'll smash you to death. Nianzhou, battered and crazed, his arm shattered and missing, recklessly rushed forward. You little mongrel, does it feel good to hit so much? He hooked his leg tightly, but Lu Yuyan evaded, shifting back, leaving Nianzhou astonished. What? How are you still standing? Before he finished speaking, one of Lu Yuyan's mace blows came down. Nianzhou's head flew into the air, blood spurting like a fountain. Lu Yuyan wasn't satisfied, muttering, Is that all? Under the pale moonlight filtering through the dense canopy, Lu Yuyan felt relieved. This bloody case centered on the torn shoe could finally be closed. He thought to himself that those messy trap-long manner fighters probably wouldn't come back to cause trouble. With sharp eyes, he didn't forget to search Nianzhou's body, murmuring, Hope that old man has something good on him. He carefully pulled off the pair of shoes the man was wearing, thinking, So you took both Six Harmonies shoes? Not bad. Now I have a full pair. Just as I said. I'd get them back. Lu Yuyan continued rifling through the nearby body. His gaze passed over a blind old man lying motionless. He whispered, "Old blind man, I saved your life. Taking a bit of your stuff shouldn't be too much, right?" His hands moved swiftly, gathering everything from silver to belongings. Then he quickly left. His figure faded into the deep woods, leaving no trace. The next morning, bright sunlight lit the path back to the smithy. Lu Yuyan saw a familiar figure and called out loud, "Senior Cow, I'm back."
Ban tans fa sabriktana.
And he hurriedly embraced him. "Lu Yuyan, it's so good you're okay." He comforted him, voice full of hope. "The others may be lost. Let's wait a bit. Maybe they'll come back." Van Tan mentioned a few names. Apprentice Tien, Senior Li still haven't returned. Lu Yuyan understood inwardly that life and death are fated. If they truly met Nianzhou, the odds were grim. He wondered, did these people really come today to capture Nianzhou? Would they marshal such a large operation for one cripple? They've searched half the forest and haven't even found the leader or the guard detachment. Strange. Sunlight peeked down through the forest canopy. Kalong's eyes went cold as he heard his subordinate report. "Master, based on these useless ones, we probably can't find who's behind Nianzhou." He barked contemptuously. "Useless, truly useless. If you can reduce the trouble, go." The group took the order and hurried away. Cao Long glanced warily to one side and said coldly, "We've come this far. Why haven't they shown themselves?" The other's deep voice replied, "Commander Cao is thorough, yet in the end you still couldn't hide from him." Cao Long sneered, "Just a thief, hiding in Lu County for months. Without help, how could he pull this off? Luring me out, what can that achieve? Relying on you alone, you're no match for Long Dao." The mask stepped forward, mocking, "Alone?" Cao Long, enraged at the crowd closing in, shouted, "Do you really dare to kill me?" The mask clearly declared. The one who killed Cao Long in Chaolu was also Nianzhou of Heavenly Army Cave. Elsewhere, rain poured in torrents and cold wind shook the treetops. Of the 12 apprentices from the weapons workshop, only 8 remained. Van Tan anxiously told Lu Yuyan, "It's getting dark. Why haven't Master and the others descended the mountain? Is Nianzhou really that formidable? Didn't Cao Dai say he was gravely wounded?" Lu Yuyan thought, if they really wanted to capture Nianzhou, wouldn't he already be a puddle of mud? Are these old men just using Nianzhou as an excuse to mobilize? He looked ahead with unease. Wind and rain were coming. No, perhaps it was already here. Lu Yuyan pondered. The layer of Qi blood represents physical strength, but how much of it is realized depends on martial skill. If the weaponry isn't fully mobilized, the Qi blood isn't yet fully developed. Even mastering the inner 3 harmonies doesn't guarantee defeating Cao Van Tan. But with a master's mace and the blade's aegis, the entire Qi blood can be directed. Then he wouldn't withstand several of my mace blows. He realized, a fighter with strong inner Qi and physique but equal technique can struggle if faced only with perfected mace methods. They may fight but not win. I must learn superior boxing techniques. Perhaps I can turn defeat into victory. Lu Yuyan looked at the spoils, excited. Over 60 taels of silver, the 2 6 harmonies shoes barely fit in his pockets, plus 100 taels in banknotes. That fake Taoist is really rich. He checked the 2 vials taken from Nianzhou and chuckled. I'm getting rich, I'm really getting rich. System display. Cold steel throwing blade, first rank. 4 tendons tempered through 1,000 fires, stained with countless bloods. Requires entry-level throwing blade technique. Effect. Minor throwing blade mastery increases vision. Lu Yuyan thought curiously. Someone in Lu County knows throwing blades. Wouldn't this let you see farther? This is a great item. He flipped the thick sole and silently rejoiced. Sure enough, there was a secret manual. No wonder Nianzhou didn't leave Lu. It's truly a valuable thing. He muttered, practice methods, Duong Tan, killing moves. Only the military breathing technique is missing, but it's enough. Duong Tan's 81 transformations are hard to master, but their power is terrifying. He hid in the study room of talisman leaves until morning sunlight streamed through the window. Lu Yuyan lightly rubbed his fingers, clear-headed and satisfied. With Duong Tan's coordination, Progress and practice will be faster. This trip was truly worthwhile. He stood up and exhaled. Today's training is over. By noon, Liu Yuyan leisurely returned to the smithy, calm as if unburdened. Tun Ban Tu saw him at the gate and rushed over, face anxious. Liu Yuyan, I heard someone say Cao Long was killed by Nian Jiu. What about my senior? Is he all right? Liu Yuyan gently patted his shoulder, reassuring confidently. The second storemaster is still on the mountain. He should be fine. Wang Dong and Ha Hao Luong were seriously injured. How could anything happen to the second storemaster? Don't worry. Hearing this, Tun Ban Tu sighed in relief, his face softening as if a burden lifted. He murmured with trust. True, my senior is so formidable. Nothing could happen to him. By the way, did you meet Nian Jiu this time? Liu Yuyan without hesitation answered Tun Ban Tu, hiding everything. I didn't see him. He deftly diverted, voice casual. Some brothers may have seen him, but they haven't returned yet. I heard Nian Jiu killed Commander Cao. It seems Nian Jiu's body was dealt with by someone. But I'm fairly confident I could have killed him myself. Tun Ban Tu glanced at him, eyes flashing with scrutiny. So you didn't see anyone at all? Liu Yuyan passed him, turned his head and replied calmly. He's a wanted criminal. If we really met him, I might have ended up dead too. This seemed to make Tun Ban Tu more convinced. He nodded in agreement. True. Oh, right. There's a minor induction at the Divine Arms Valley the day after tomorrow. Remember that. Liu Yuyan nodded slightly, voice steady. I remember. He pushed open the kitchen door, muttering with slight fatigue. I'm dying of thirst. I need some water. At the large water jar in the corner, he scooped a full ladle and gulped it down in one long draught. When his thirst was quenched, he wiped his mouth and asked Tun Ban Tu, Did you buy all the medicines I told you to before I left? He looked at him. Tun Ban Tu replied briefly, I'll fetch them for you later. Dusk fell and night descended, covering the silent smithy. Liu Yuyan sat quietly beneath the ancient tree, took out a pill, placed it in his mouth, and chewed slowly. He calculated inwardly, eyes lighting up. After taking the medicine, he'd continue training. Let the pill's force integrate, 4 or 5 days would be enough. Immediately his body filled with vitality, qi and blood surging like rolling waves. The pill acts fast. As expected, precious medicine works well. I'm running out of money more and more. His meridians seemed to open, a strong current of energy enveloping him. The feeling of a breakthrough was close at hand. Just then the door burst open with a bang, startling Liu Yuyan, and he hastily stopped his training. Van Tan appeared, hurried and shouting. Master has returned, but he's severely wounded. Elder Tun, Brother Yuyan, Master calls for you both immediately. Liu Yuyan turned, eyes briefly surprised. Master is seriously wounded? Tun Ban Tu shot out of the house like an arrow, flustered, shouting, I'm coming! Entering the room, they saw Duong Dong sitting in a chair with his eyes tightly shut, cultivating calm. His wounds still oozed blood and looked extremely grave. Liu Yuyan and Tun Ban Tu followed Van Tan, and both cried out anxiously, Senior Master, you're injured? Duong Dong lightly rubbed his chest, speaking with unusual calm. I almost died. Seeing Master's condition, Van Tan immediately knelt, entreating, Master, please let us treat your wounds. We beg you. Duong Dong trembled slightly, his face showing helplessness. Whether treated or not, it's useless. He forced himself upright, pulling his robe aside to reveal a long slash across his chest, so deep the white bone showed. Look, it's like this already. Liu Yuyan cried out in horror. Even second-rank inner armor couldn't stop it? Tun Ban Tu, anxious and angry, pressed, Senior, who injured you in the end? Duong Dong adjusted his armor, his voice low. It was Cao Long. All three were stunned on hearing this. Cao Long. Didn't he die already? Knowing he was unlikely to survive, Duong Dong took 2 papers from the table, voice weak. Who did it no longer matters now. Listen, disciples. Although many internal workshop disciples have reached high mastery of the mace and great qi blood, few truly have hope of breaking through inner qi. Duong Dong looked directly at Liu Yuyan, eyes sharp. Lu Yuyan, you're not bad. Though your root is somewhat weak, your talent is high and your inner chi shows promise. So you have a chance to be accepted into Divine Arms Valley, Lu Yuyan urged anxiously. Master, please stop. First have your wounds treated. But Duongdong didn't listen. His trembling hand held out the two papers to the two of them. Van Tan recognized them at once, exclaiming, "Basic diagrams!" The corner of Lu Yuyan's mouth twitched. Inwardly he rejoiced. Good stuff. One is Bak Vien Fist. The other is Tan Xe Spear. These papers can be considered weapon certificates. The system in his head immediately displayed information. Basic diagram of the Bak Vien Flying Gale Mace. A master-level mace practitioner's inner chi diagram recorded. Those whose mace technique and chi blood reach great completion and who comprehend it can grasp the inner chi doctrine. Usage condition. Bak Vien Flying Gale Mace at great completion. Effect. Master-level Bak Vien Flying Gale Mace, Yuan Zi Gale Charm, Bak Vien Fist. Duongdong began to explain, his voice weak but determined. These are the basic inner chi diagrams of the Bak Vien Mace and Tan Xe Spear. Only a martial artist who cultivates a skill to great completion and then breaks through can draw such treasures. Without these diagrams, breaking through inner chi is only possible if one cultivates the mace technique to completion oneself. In the workshop's 200 years, few have achieved it. Lu Yuyan rubbed his chin, calculating inwardly. He'd never heard of this before. Who knew the Bak Vien Flying Gale Mace was divided into sections like stances, training methods, breathing techniques, and striking methods. There's also the basic diagram. Perhaps this is the method used to control the workshop disciples' learning. I wonder if the battle mace path also has a basic diagram? At this moment, Duongdong seemed utterly exhausted, cold sweat rolling down his cheekbones. He continued, his voice broken. Entry, proficiency, minor mastery, major mastery, and perfection need no explanation. Before internal chi, blood, and martial strength only have these 4 levels. As for the basic diagram, it's usually only taught after one comprehends the 6 harmonies. Many brothers before you still haven't had the basic diagram transmitted to them. Van Tan stepped forward to support him, voice full of worry. Master? But Duongdong waved his hand, forcing out, It's fine, I can still speak. Among you 3, Van Tan has progressed the farthest, while Lu Yuyan is the most shallow. But none have reached that stage yet, so they haven't been tested. Logically, now is not the time to show you the basic internal diagram. He struggled to lean on the arm of the chair, and with his other hand tossed 2 drawn diagrams to Lu Yuyan and Van Tan, 1 copy each. When finished, his arm fell limp, no longer able to support his body. Duongdong collapsed into the chair and, in a weak voice, instructed, Remember as much of it as you can. Lu Yuyan gripped the drawing tightly, curiosity mixing with excitement welling inside. It was only a scrap of paper. How could it exude such a powerful aura? No, this wasn't ordinary paper, but the hide of a white poplar spirit doe. Meanwhile, Duongdong sighed softly, his gaze distant, a chill in his thoughts. The tong long blade felt as if it had pierced to his very marrow. He clasped his hands behind his back and slowly walked toward the gate. Tun Ban too was filled with extreme worry, hurriedly reached out to stop him. Brother-in-law, you're wound. But Duongdong cut him off, calm in tone. It's nothing. Dawn was just breaking. A pale light spread over the main courtyard. Duongdong walked slowly, each step heavy. Wang Ding saw this and could not help but speak, his voice full of concern. Old Duong, are you injured? Duongdong sat down at the stone table, his voice low but composed. I won't die, but my martial skill is more than half ruined. The tong long blade is too sharp. Even a top-grade spirit pill couldn't save me. He looked at Wang Ding and Tao Diem and began to outline the coming plan. Before Han Tui Quan arrives, I will leave Chao Lu. But you must do one thing for me. Reserve an assessment spot at the Divine Arms Valley next year for Cao Van Tan, Lu Yuyan, and No Min. Keep the 3 as they are. Wang Ding glanced at him, eyes revealing doubt. There are only 6 quotas for the weapons forge, and you've already designated 3. This doesn't seem right. Duongdong frowned slightly, his voice conceding. Very well, I yield to you too. Tao Dim sat down beside him and added, his tone full of gratitude. If not for old Duong this time, Chow would hardly have escaped. The 3 positions are yours to decide. Wang Ding hesitated, his worry deepening. But no one knows when Han Tuiquan will arrive. Night is long and full of dreams. Old Duong should leave tonight. I'll order someone to escort you to Duk Duong Manor. Suddenly, Duong Dong coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hand. Voice low. Then, tonight we go. Seeing his emaciated appearance, Tao Diem produced a small vial from his sleeve and handed it over. This is a top-grade cheese supplement pill from the 4 Seasons Herb Hall. It will ease some of the pain on the road. Duong Dong accepted it and bowed slightly. Many thanks, Chief Steward. He hunched and walked toward the gate, muttering with a tinge of regret. The arms forge has endured for over 200 years, generations pouring their hearts into it. I hope you will not destroy this legacy. He hacked continuously. The majestic aura he once had now faded. Tao Diem heard every word clearly, bowed his head and replied with firm resolve. How could I possibly destroy the arms forge? This is our ancestors' enterprise. Wang Ding, standing behind, slammed his hand on the table, voice full of fury. Cao Long is oppressing people. If we don't resist, sooner or later he'll swallow us whole. He paused, eyes flashing with anxiety. If Han Tuiquan, nicknamed Ghost-Faced Bana, discovers the Tong Long blade wounds on old Duong's body, then, Tao Diem looked up, voice low but sharp. Old Duong took that blade for me. Vong Din looked him straight in the eye, bluntly. Our 2 families have owed the Tao clan a debt for generations. Old Duong merely repaid that debt with a cut. If he hadn't intercepted it, it would have been our turn. Tao Diem seemed unconcerned. His face hardened and he said coldly, Divine Arms Valley cannot probe the borders of Duk Duong Prefecture belonging to the Dong Sun sect. Vong Din tried to advise further, but Tao Diem snapped loudly, Enough! I've decided. There's no need to discuss this further. Seeing he could not be moved, Vong Din could only sigh in helplessness and voiced his worry. Wu Chan's background is unclear. Do you really want him in charge of the internal workshop? Tao Diem's eyes flashed with resolve. If you doubt him, don't use him. But once you employ him, don't doubt him. Wu Chan acts cautiously and makes no mistakes. If all goes well, next year you'll be the chief quartermaster. There's no need to rush. Mentioning the sensitive matter, Vong Din grew flustered, sweat beading as he hurried to explain. Chief quartermaster, you've misunderstood. But Tao Diem would not listen further. He swept his sleeve and left the courtyard decisively. Fine. Leave the workshop funds to be managed by Tan Hung under your direction. In the blink of an eye, dusk fell, bathing everything in red light. In the room from that morning, Lu Yuyan and Van Tan still trained diligently following the diagrams Duong Dong had given. Tun Ban too leaned back in a chair and had fallen asleep, his soft snoring audible. Seeing Duong Dong return, all 3 were startled and shouted in unison. Master! Senior! Lu Yuyan stepped forward and respectfully extended both hands to return the painting he held. Duong Dong took it, voice low but resolute. Everyone out. Tun Hao stay. Lu Yuyan and Van Tan answered together. Yes, master. When only 2 remained in the room, Tun Ban too hurried over to help Duong Dong into a chair, eyes full of concern. Senior, you're wound. Duong Dong glanced at him and ordered coldly. Pack your things. Tonight we leave for Duk Duong Prefecture. Tun Ban too froze, his gaze revealing reluctance. Leave? We really must go? Yes, Duong Dong replied tersely, his hand trembling as he took the small potion Tao Diem had given him. What else? Stay and wait for death. He swallowed the pill, his complexion slowly regaining some life. Then he repeated sternly, Hurry and pack. Tun Ban too hesitated, voice faltering. I've never been to Duk Duong Prefecture. Just the 2 of us going? Or should we bring along some disciples? I think Lu Yuyan isn't bad. Hearing that, Duong Dong barked. Shut up. If you don't want more trouble, pack your things now. Tun Ban too scratched his head, looking dejected, and muttered, My mother, what should I do? A while later in the kitchen, the door opened quietly. Lu Yuyan entered and looked at Tun Ban Tu with curiosity. What are you doing? He replied as he packed, voice low and sad. Packing my things. Tun Hao and I are about to travel far. Lu Yuyan suddenly produced a pouch from his person and handed it to him. Returning your 57 taels of silver. Consider the remainder interest. Tun Ban Tu was startled and asked in surprise. Where did you pull out so much silver? 50 would have been fine. Lu Yuyan smiled sincerely, calm in tone. Don't worry about money. Keep business and personal matters separate. If 9 yields 13, then 56 taels becomes 72. Take some travel money to feel secure. Tun Ban Tu moved, rushed forward and embraced him tightly, tears streaming. Brother, I don't know when we'll meet again. Lu Yuyan squinted, his confident smile radiant. Next time we meet, I'll be a master. Before they set out, Tun Ban Tu looked him squarely in the face, patted his shoulder heartily, and earnestly advised. Train hard from now on. I won't be lazy either. I'll practice diligently to catch up with you. Lu Yuyan nodded slightly, eyes resolute. All right, I'll be waiting. Hurry. Master is surely waiting for you. Tun Ban Tu turned back to the table and hoisted his bundle onto his shoulder. Standing at the threshold, he turned his head and said in a warm, low voice, Until we meet again. Lu Yuyan pressed his lips together and watched his retreating figure, then cupped his hands in salute. Big brother Tun, until we meet again. Tun Ban Tu and Duong Dong left in the night, leaving Lu Yuyan alone in the forge. While briskly forging weapons, he mulled things over. The second quartermaster hurried away in the dead of night like a fugitive. Then the basic diagrams must have been taken along. Vong Din's decision yields no benefit for me. No wonder the second quartermaster broke protocol to show us the diagrams. Lost in thought, his hand faltered. His hammer rhythm lost precision and his force grew uneven. Old Truong sternly shouted when he saw this. Tun Hao isn't here. Do you expect me not to be present either? It's just an annex. What's so important about letting you stay? Lu Yuyan set down the hammer, wiped the sweat from his brow with a cloth, and replied gently, Master, I'm not angry. Please calm down. I'm a fine anywhere. There's a roomy little annex on second brother's second floor. I had thought of moving there for some time. Before I couldn't bear leaving Tun Ban Tu's kitchen, but that's gone now. Returning there would be fine. Old Truong sank into the nearby chair, arms folded, voice grave. Heaven struck down Nian Jiao. If he hadn't been injured, how could old Duong have solved the case? The lucky have destiny. The second quartermaster begged him. He should be all right. Lu Yuyan carefully offered a cup of tea, steering the conversation. But the forge, the second quartermaster has left. Divine Arms Valley next spring. Old Truong accepted the tea and replied curtly, firmly, You're certain, no need to worry. Hearing that, Lu Yuyan bowed his head, the corner of his mouth twitching with quiet joy. Thank you, master. Old Truong stood, took the blade he had just forged, eyes showing surprise mixed with pleasure. You've only been forging iron for a few days? Took me 20 years to reach your level. Before long you'll be able to forge top-grade blades. For each blade you make, I'll reward you 7 taels of cash. Lu Yuyan's eyes widened in astonishment. 7 taels. Seeing his reaction, Old Truong turned his head and joked. Too little? 7 taels isn't small. The forge trains you. Do you want it piecemeal? Also, if your forging reaches great success, you may enter the warehouse to choose a weapon of second rank. You'll go pick one later. Lu Yuyan beamed and hurriedly nodded. That's plenty. Thank you, master. I'll go choose now. At that moment, a man nearby glanced at him, eyes flashing with envy and jealousy. So what if his talent is good? His innate constitution is mediocre, nothing remarkable. A girl suddenly appeared and called to the man. Song Gani, in a few days will the young lady's small gathering invite him along? The man replied bluntly with contempt. No need. Without Duong Dong, he might not even keep the position to go to Divine Arms Valley. Why bother with him? Before long, Lu Yuyan arrived at the forge's warehouse. Vong Ho, the manager, warned in a low voice. Those blades master left that year. Best not to take them. They're conspicuous. Lu Yuyan smiled and nodded in thanks. Thanks for the reminder, Ho bro. Vong Ho turned the key and flung open the warehouse door. Lu Yuyan couldn't help exclaiming, his eyes shining with excitement. The system in his head annotated the weapons in the warehouse. Tin Song Fong Ho Staff, 2nd rank. Bok Lian Fa Fong Mace, 2nd rank. Han Quang Bitch Nok Saber, 2nd rank. Tu Tan Tin Silver Sword, 2nd rank. Vong Ho began to introduce. There are 293 weapons in the warehouse. 43 are top grade. Half are swords, sabers, maces. Only the 3 quartermasters and master have access to this warehouse. No one gets treatment like yours. Lu Yuyan bowed his head modestly. Master favored me, so I feel a bit ashamed. When he lifted a mace to inspect it, Vong Ho explained, this mace is the masterpiece of the old man, your master. It's a pity it's too heavy.
Le Huyen replit enthousiastically, Indeed, a masterpiece.
Suddenly the system pinged a notification that made Lu Yuyan turn. Curious. Black silver soft-stitched mail, 2nd rank. Refined from black silver hide mixed with bitch tin bronze. Woven into soft mail and soaked in the white solution for years. Sturdy, durable, yet flexible. Can resist internal force and withstand slashing blows from 2nd rank light infantry. Usage condition. Any great breakthrough from hone training. Light infantry are hard to wound. Increases hone training talent. Reading the system info, Lu Yuyan reached out to touch the soft mail, eyes glittering with excitement. Vong Ho noticed and quietly warned, Junior brother, these armors are too precious. If you take one, master will have to pay for it. Lu Yuyan quickly withdrew his hand, scratched his head, and said regretfully, No, Ho bro, don't worry. I'm just looking. After scanning the row of valuable weapons in the warehouse, Lu Yuyan spoke tactfully, hinting, Please register this for me. Ho bro, I want to take the bitch tin bronze mace. Leaving the warehouse, he strolled up the street to buy a few fresh fish to prepare dinner. Now the annex only had him, so he decided to return to the old house. Suddenly a familiar figure crossed his sight, Tan Hung. Lu Yuyan pressed his lips together, thinking, the 2nd quartermaster just left, and Tan Hung has already been reassigned back? People really are slow to change. Night fell. The full moon outside the window cast a cold, clear light into his quiet room. Lu Yuyan was diligently cultivating, beads of sweat on his brow. After a while, he felt a new current of power rise within his body. It's clear, he began to test it. Spiritual energy surged through him, his force concentrated at a point and exploded in an instant. It felt as if an inner membrane had formed, boosting his defense dramatically. Only the 6 harmonies needed to be cleared to touch internal energy. A thought flashed through his mind. Could he fight Tan Hung now? As he stepped out, Le Lam grinned broadly and cheerfully said, Rested? Let's cook these 2 fish tonight. Lu Yuyan replied excitedly, Why are you so happy, brother? Le Lam looked at him and announced enthusiastically, Next year our family will have a new member. Le Lam's wife heard and came out, feigning a stern face to scold him. Why are you saying that? Lu Yuyan's eyes lit up as he turned to his sister-in-law to confirm. You're pregnant, she blushed and explained shyly. I told him to wait 3 months to tell you, but he couldn't keep his mouth shut. After hearing it, Lu Yuyan said firmly and spiritedly, Then I'll have to earn more money later to save for my nephew. Le Lam beamed, carried the pot of fish inside, and advised, You first focus on cultivating well. Suddenly Lu Yuyan remembered something and his expression tightened. Tan Hung seemed to be interested in his sister-in-law. Most of the time he stayed in Saingu Ward, at his mistress's place. The next morning, Tao Diem summoned Tan Hung early. As they strolled through the courtyard they talked. Although Ngu Kui has a mid-upper constitution, his talent is ordinary and his 8 forms aren't refined. Giving him this quota would be wasteful. Tan Hung walked behind, voice resentful and puzzled. Divine Arms Valley values constitution. Ngu Kui isn't qualified. Yet that low constitution brat got it how? Tao Diem replied sternly. Lu Yuyan's constitution isn't good, but his talent is exceptional. He reached minor success in mace technique in 4 months. Who in Chao Lu County can match that? He turned to look straight at Tan Hung. How long did it take you to reach minor success with the mace technique back then? Tan Hung hesitated. A year. Tao Diem continued sharply. If you can bring Ngokui's mace technique and vital force to minor success, then it's not impossible to secure a position. He leaned in, hinting, Tan Hung, your internal cycle is abundant. You can achieve results in 3 to 5 months. The key is to keep your mind steady. Tan Hung gritted his teeth and nodded. Understood. Just then, old Truong entered through the gate, voice joyful. Chief Quartermaster, congratulations. He handed Tao Diem a newly forged sword. Tao Diem examined it, eyes showing astonishment mixed with delight. It's only missing one tempering step to become a top-grade weapon. Who forged this? Old Truong nodded proudly and replied, My disciple, Lu Yuyan. Seeing he had nothing else to do, Tan Hung cupped his hands and asked permission. Chief Quartermaster, I'll go to work now. Tao Diem nodded. Go ahead. Old Truong chuckled with pleasure at Tan Hung's dejected appearance. Tao Diem held the sword, marveling. So there's talent of this caliber? Old Truong raised his fist, speaking decisively. Exceptional talent. If the shop backs him fully for up to 10 years, actually well before 5 or 6 years, he could surpass me. Then he'll be able to forge supreme weapons on his own. Tao Diem understood and smiled slightly, nodding. Talent like that the shop will of course throw its full support behind. That night in Saingo Ward, Tan Hung was instructing a disciple, voice full of irritation. Are you dumb? How many times have I told you, power from the ground, right foot heavy, body like a spirit pillar, relax the torso. At this slowness, who can you possibly knock down?
Ngu quy viplit aqua dili, transforman.
Tan Hung roared, face flushed. Transformations? You turn the form into what is that? Seeing Ngukui fail to meet expectations, he was both angry and helpless, muttering, worthless. Tan Hung's lover stood beside him, taking his arm and soothing in a gentle voice. Don't be angry at him over that worthless name. But Tan Hung hadn't calmed, berating Ngukui harshly. Stupid as a pig, and Divine Arms Valley, what good is it? Without me the inner school wouldn't get in. He leaned on the chair and sat down, thinking inwardly. There are only 3 ways to be accepted into Divine Arms Valley. First, under 12 years old, top-tier constitution, and pay 300 taels of silver. Tan Hung closed his eyes and leaned back, his face showing vexation. Second, a renowned fighter may be invited as a guest. I'm not qualified for that. The third way is inner disciples whose relatives develop internal force can be recommended to join the Divine Guard elite of Divine Arms Valley. His lover flatteringly knelt at his feet and massaged him. Their investigators from Lukhong Bin had only just brought in funds a few months ago. With over 30 unpaid accounts, they had less than 100 taels. Far less than when the treasury money was here. Tan Hung frowned and confirmed. Less than 100 taels? This isn't enough to nurture my internal force. He urged, and his lover nodded firmly. I've pushed it. Just then another disciple crept in and reported, Master Tan, I'm here. Tan Hung leaned back, curtly. Enter. The disciple stammered out his findings. Lu Yuyan, apart from the time he went to Khao Sun, rarely leaves the shop, always training and reading. He rents an annex for 4 taels, spends 6 to 7 taels more on wine, meat, rice, grain, clothing, and the household. For supplements, over 4 months he bathed every 5 to 10 days, totaling 8 taels. Before that he spent over 40 taels to buy warm blood pills at Sikui Herb Hall. Other odds and ends cost 2 to 3 taels. He also bought 2 more sets of clothes. After hearing it, Tan Hung's face darkened. He slammed the arm of his chair, irritable. Anything else? The disciple flinched and whispered, Master Tan. That's all. Tan Hung erupted in fury, roaring. So he used my money to achieve his success.
Lu Yuyan.
At the same time, at his home, Lu Yuyan was soaking in a bath, mixing various rare spirit herbs to clear his meridians. He shouted inwardly, channeling a great source of energy into the mace. Instantly there was an explosion, the bath shattered to pieces. The system continuously sent new notifications. 1,000-weight strength. Those without top-tier constitution and extraordinary innate talent cannot use the mace. You regularly used the mace with 1,000-weight force, large moves with deep power. Long-term mace users develop sturdy limbs. Every motion carries great strength. Armor-breaking position hone training, the body cannot resist armor. Heavy mace armor break also breaks hone training. Luyan rejoiced, elated. Vital force fully matured. Mace technique perfected to completion. Forging skill reached great completion, 1,000-weight strength. Large moves with deep power, and even armor breaking. One word. Perfect. Soaked. Luyan wrapped a towel. Hastily dressed. Eager to test his new strength. He rolled his shoulders a few times and muttered, "This jar holds water, at least 1,000 caddies. A few months ago I could only lift one corner. What about now?" Bending down, he gripped the jar's body, muscles tensing as he exerted himself. The heavy jar left the ground and hovered in his hands. 1,000-weight strength. Not stopping there, he drove power into his legs and lifted higher. With a strong heave, he flung it up, then caught it steadily, thinking inwardly, "It really is 1,000-weight strength. The hegemon's lifting peak might not be as heavy as this jar." He hoisted the jar overhead and strode a few circles across the yard, still with energy to spare. But if he unleashed too much power, his muscles would seize. After a while, he set the jar down hard in its place, water splashing everywhere. Smiling with satisfaction, he thought, "Only one martial art left. I'll definitely join Divine Arms Valley." The next morning, he returned to the forge as usual. Old Truong passed by, glanced at him, eyes showing surprise mixed with admiration. "This kid's forging skill has reached great completion?" Seeing Lu Yuyan's enthusiasm, he chuckled inwardly, pleased as if recalling his younger self. Old Truong stepped forward, booming, "Good disciple, want to try forging a top-grade weapon?" The chief quartermaster said, "If you make one, you'll be rewarded 8 taels." Lu Yuyan's eyes lit up, excited. 8 taels. Old Truong added generously, "Use any of the precious materials in the stockroom." Lu Yuyan exclaimed happily, "Thank you, master." He muttered to himself, elated, "I'm getting rich." Old Truong watched and then instructed seriously, "Your tempering isn't fully mastered yet. Practice a few more days. A small tempering error can change the price tenfold. Give me your mace and I'll demonstrate." Lu Yuyan replied respectfully, "Thank you, master." In the blink of an eye, it was midday. Everyone at the workshop went to the kitchen to eat. Lu Yuyan walked slowly, wiping sweat from his brow with a cloth. Suddenly Van Tan appeared and called out loudly, "Junior brother Lu, in 4 days there's a small gathering in the city team. Do you want to go?" Lu Yuyan, surprised, confirmed, "You mean Miss Lo's small gathering?" Van Tan nodded and explained, "Didn't old Truong tell you? Next year our workshop has 6 slots for Divine Arms Valley examinations." Lu Yuyan remembered and nodded. "Master did mention this." Van Tan continued clearly, "Divine Arms Valley is an ancient sect of 1,000 years. All counties in Trap Long Prefecture follow this forging path. This is the true hegemon. The last time Divine Arms Valley opened its gates was decades ago. Normally none of us qualify. This opportunity must not be missed." Lu Yuyan clasped his hands gratefully. "Thank you, Senior Cow, for the invitation." Van Tan turned to leave but looked back, relaxed. "Master told me to look after you. No need to thank me. I'm just here to tell you. Now I'll go check on the other juniors' training."
Le Huyen replied politely, "Understood, Seigneur."
As he walked down the corridor, he encountered 2 fellow disciples whispering to each other. The moment they saw him, they quickly avoided him and hurried away. Lu Yuyan curled his lip, thinking, "Do these 2 have devils in their hearts?" A chilly breeze swept in, bone-deep cold making him unconsciously clench his fists. A vague alarm rose in him. It seems Tan Hung has put him in his sights. The old dog is truly not easy to deal with. Late at night, at Not Tu Tu Lao, the proud skyscraping tower in the city center, the party atmosphere reached its peak and the aroma of food filled the air. Lu Yuyan didn't bother to be proper. One hand deftly grabbed grilled meat while the other held a whole drumstick he gnawed on greedily. Sauce smeared all around his mouth. While ravenously chewing, he swept his eyes over the fashionable guests. The 4th young master of the Thua Lu family Van Vu, the third young master of the Thua Van family Diet Dat, even missed by Zhao Vong, all city science. Their silk garments gleamed and their jewelry sparkled with luxury, far above the likes of Vong Tsong or Tru Tu Min. He thought to himself, these pampered city sons don't bother inviting anyone from the suburbs. They clearly look down on commoners like me. Suddenly a graceful figure glided in and drew every eye. It was Lo Bok Lin, stunningly beautiful. She spoke in a voice sweet as honey. Greetings, everyone. The guests instantly turned and replied in unison with respectful tones. Greetings, Miss Lo. Outside, a sudden downpour hammered the roofs, water pattering on the tiles. Lu Yuyan paid it no mind and kept eating as if starved. Let it rain. His mouth wouldn't stop until his belly was full. Lo Bok Lin took the seat of honor and spoke solemnly. Among the 3,000 Divine Guard soldiers of Traplong Prefecture on the martial roster, the Tien Thuyan sword method is supreme, difficult to learn and master. Even within Divine Arms Valley, only a portion is transmitted to trusted disciples. Early March next year, Divine Arms Valley will open its gates. The county forces under Traplong Prefecture each have multiple quotas. I fear the competition will be fierce. If we aim for the same goal, we must support one another. Listening, Lu Yuyan chewed and muttered sarcastically to himself. Support one another? Someone like me will be excluded for sure. Don't dream. His lower belly began to bloat like a drum. He sprang up, rubbed his stuffed stomach, ready to slip away quietly. I'm full. Let's go. No need to stay and tire ourselves. A young master sneered and drawled sharply. With a middle-low constitution, he might not even get a slot. If Music Brother leads him, better to take Ngukui. At least his constitution is middle-high. Lu Yuyan walked out nonchalantly, not bothering to argue. He held his hand out to catch the cold raindrops and muttered to himself, I've been waiting for this heavy rain. The rain grew heavier and heavier, white sheets of water pouring down. Lu Yuyan dashed off toward Tan Heng's courtyard, where an oil lamp still glimmered. He wondered inwardly whether the old man was at home. Suddenly a dark shape shot past him at lightning speed. Lu Yuyan glanced back and thought, someone else working in this rainy night like me? The dark figure was Tan Heng. He moved lightly like a bat, dancing nimbly across the slick rooftops. Lightning flashed across the sky, but he remained unflinching, his face set in iron resolve. 3 generations of the Lu family were oppressed. 2 generations of mine have fallen into decline. Better for them to remain downtrodden. After moving for a while, Tan Heng dropped to the ground and stood towering before Lu Lam's door. He clenched his fist and advanced slowly, but suddenly halted, ears pricking. There was absolutely no third person's breath. He growled. Where is everyone? Where the hell did they go? At the same time in Tan Heng's courtyard, Lu Yuyan also froze as he realized the same thing. No third person's breath. Tan Heng not at home? What a coincidence. As he wondered, an anxious voice sounded from inside. I really can't compete. Tru Tu Min is the youngest daughter of Commander Tru. Vong Tsong is the son of the third chief. Nak Van Tan and Nomin both have fully matured vital force. Lu Yuyan learned martial arts and refined techniques in 4 months. His talent far surpasses mine. No sooner had the words ended than a sharp, sour voice cut in. Those ones are hopeless, but Lu Yuyan, that woman's little nephew, is different. Standing outside the door, Lu Yuyan pricked up his ears at the last words and felt suspicion rise. That woman? Are they referring to my second aunt? Inside the courtyard, Tan Heng's lover was rummaging anxiously through something. Flustered and clumsy with her hands and feet, she shoved her hands on her hips, pointed at the disciple's face and said harshly, Your brother-in-law already told you. He has no chance against you. Fool. Always retreating. Lu Yuyan standing outside heard every word clearly. Without hesitation, he rammed his shoulder hard into the door, making a thunderous crash. The 2 inside were startled and shouted in unison, Who? In the blink of an eye, Lu Yuyan burst in like a fierce tiger leaping from the mountain, swinging his fist and knocking both out swiftly as if snapping candy. He blew out the flickering candle and the room was plunged into pitch-black darkness. Only the sound of rain pattering outside remained. Clenching both fists, He tiptoed up the stairs toward the second floor. Entering Tan Heng's study, Lu Yuyan immediately fixed his gaze on the wall painting. It was his sister-in-law's portrait. He decided to rip the painting down. As his hand touched the frame, he suddenly noticed something odd. Why does this painting have a secret compartment? Without hesitation, Lu Yuyan flung open the hidden panel and reached in to pull out an old sheet of paper. He recognized it at once, his face dropping open in astonishment. So the original map of the Bak Veen flying whip method is in Tan Heng's hands. Today's trip wasn't in vain, not coming back empty-handed. Lu Yuyan chuckled and swept up all the treasures Tan Heng had hidden. All of this belongs to my sect now. Finished. The rain outside still poured without end and the surroundings were utterly silent. Lu Yuyan slipped out the door, a thought flashing across his mind. Could Tan Heng be prowling around looking for me too? He glanced up, and just then the dark shape that had streaked past him earlier returned. This time Lu Yuyan looked closely and immediately recognized Tan Heng. Speaking of Cao Cao, Cao Cao arrives at just the right moment. His eyes flashed a cold gleam. Tonight my sect will deal with you. Unlike Lu Yuyan's confidence, Tan Heng returned with extreme wariness. He landed on the ground, muttering to himself, "Why is that little bastard so alert? Have the two Lu Qing leaked the news?" Seeing the courtyard dark as ink, he grew suspicious. "Why are the lights out so early? I clearly told them to wait for me tonight." Tan Heng immediately sensed something was wrong. His face tightened with extreme tension. On high alert, he kicked the door open and shouted loudly, "Where are the thieves?" Hearing no movement, Tan Heng swept his gaze around like a flash, then looked up as if expecting something. Lu Yuyan dove from the roof like a hawk snatching prey. Tan Heng remained unshaken and taunted, "You're unlucky tonight. You've run into me." He immediately released his spirit form and a tremendous surge of power exploded forth, causing Lu Yuyan to hesitate, a flicker of surprise on his face. With 6 harmonies mastery, he swung his mace straight down. But Tan Heng had already sprung off the ground and leapt aside to dodge neatly. His face darkened as suspicions about the stranger's skill arose in his mind. The rain grew heavier and had reached ankle-deep. Tan Heng smashed through a window frame, intending to slip outside. Today is not suitable for continuing the fight. He landed and glanced around, surveying all sides. But Lu Yuyan wouldn't let him go easily. He immediately pursued like a hunting dog, leaped down from above and swung his mace in a thunderous strike. The terrifying blow was blocked by Tan Heng's 2 forearms. Yet the force was so immense that his sleeves tore to shreds like paper and wind whistled in his ears. Lu Yuyan whipped his mace again, his eyes flashing with cruel ferocity. True to someone who cultivated internal force, the recoil power was terrifying. He spun once in midair, landed firmly, then lunged at Tan Heng in an instant. "But my sect has a 2nd and 3rd mace. If you don't get smashed by them, that'd be surprising." Tan Heng was momentarily stunned by the opponent's speed and technique, murmuring, Is that the Bak Veen mace strike?" Lu Yuyan showed no mercy and slammed a blow into his chest. Tan Heng raised his hands to block, but this time his 2 arms shattered like dry twigs, his whole body trembling like a withered leaf. He staggered back and shouted at Lu Yuyan in panic, "Who are you?" He couldn't fathom how someone without internal chi could possess greater internal force than himself. Lu Yuyan didn't bother to answer. He charged forward and threw a hammer-like punch at Tan Heng. The punch made him spit fresh blood. His legs wavered and he couldn't stand, his sternum crushed to pieces. Tan Heng was aghast. "How is this possible? It was only a 12-caddy hammer. My body has been trained to minor completion of the 7 stars body tempering. Yet I couldn't withstand it? Why did one blow shatter me?" Refusing to accept defeat, he shifted his foot to the side, trying to dodge Lu Yuyan's next strike. Just block once. Just block once. But Lu Yuyan's movement was like lightning. The mace came down straight on his face. Not yet satisfied, he pummeled every weak point on Tan Heng, reducing his bones to fragments and twisting his body like a rag. The fight ended. Lu Yuyan's breathing was slightly ragged. Tan Heng sank to his knees, his body no longer intact, then collapsed with a thud into the muddy water, showing no sign of life. Lu Yuyan clenched his fists, a flicker of fear passing through him, but excitement quickly overwhelmed everything. He's dead, really dead. In just 8 months I killed Tan Hung. He furrowed his brow, eyes showing not a trace of remorse, and immediately turned to leave the scene. He tried to harm me and even ogled my second aunt. Serves him right to die. A while later, the lover's young brother regained consciousness, staggered over to shake his sister. Seeing the room ransacked, he jumped back in alarm. Is this a robbery? Then he stepped outside, completely unguarded. A second later his face went deathly pale, eyes wide with horror at the scene before him, and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "Brother-in-law, he's killed someone! He's killed someone!" At the same time, Lu Yuyan had slipped back home, climbed through the window and jumped into his room, acting as if nothing had happened. He carefully closed the door and held his breath, making no sound. Seeing the faint footprints not yet erased in the yard, he thought to himself, Tan Hung really did come snooping. Luckily, I wasn't home tonight and struck with a surprise attack. He clenched his hand, stepped toward the bed, proud. The head steward was right. Fighting someone is truly a shortcut to rapid progress. This surge of feeling, one may strike, has broken the inner-outer triple union and leapt straight to 6 harmonies mastery. He pulled out the great elephant mace, thinking, holding it long enough, the body will gradually digest and adapt to the mace technique perfectly. Soon I'll reach a new realm. Making it mine is the real grasp. Lu Yuyan slipped into the item storage space in the system, feeling a bit resentful. This stone pedestal is so tiny. The 6 harmonies boots can barely fit a few items. If only there were a huge cauldron, how wonderful that would be. He flopped down beside the bed, pulled out the loot stolen from Tan Hung's courtyard and inventoried it, eyes shining. A 200 liang promissory note, 34 liang of small silver, 16 pearls, 2 agates, 2 gold chains, and 3 vials of unidentified pills. He felt ecstatic. This time I'm getting rich. Really getting rich. Also, a second-tier Duanmen Tiger Blade, the map for the Bak Vien Flying Whip method, and the manual 7 stars body tempering. He picked up the map and peered at it, muttering as he read the dense lines. Bak Vien Flying Whip, fully consummate, Vien Ti Fong Yao, Bak Vien Force. Truly a top-tier second-grade masterpiece. Does Vien Ti Fong Yao refer to innate constitution? The more he read, the more puzzled he became, but he tried to reason it out. A superior constitution compared to mid or low, if both take the same pill, the former absorbs 2 or 3 times the medicinal power. Could Bak Vien Force be internal chi? After that, Lu Yuyan picked up the Duanmen Tiger Blade to examine it, his face twisting into a slight scowl of disapproval. Though second tier, it was far inferior to the genuine pieces in the forge's stock. Seeing nothing special, he casually set it down. Suddenly his eyes glittered like stars when he saw the last item. Today's top haul right here. Lu Yuyan grabbed the greenish book, face full of excitement. 7 stars body tempering, the pinnacle of body tempering arts. The next morning, Lu Yuyan returned to the forge with a broad grin and called out loudly, "Greetings, senior brothers." The smiths waved back enthusiastically and the atmosphere immediately brightened. "Junior brother, you're in high spirits today." Hearing that, Lu Yuyan beamed and replied, "Rested at home a day, seem a bit taller now." Suddenly a senior brother pulled him aside into a corner and whispered, "Lu junior brother, yesterday afternoon Cao Dat showed up at the shop." Lu Yuyan instantly went into character, feigning wide-eyed innocence and asked blankly, "Oh? What happened?" "Something big." The surrounding disciples clustered close, whispering as if afraid others would overhear. Tan Hung died gruesomely at home, smashed to pieces by the Bak Vien devouring wind mace. The new manager Vu Chan, formerly a bamboo blade craftsman, said the killer didn't use internal chi, just swung a hammer and shattered Tan Hung's arm and chest bones. So how could Cao Dat, Cao Long, or even him have killed by those in our shop? How are they linking us? At this point Lu Yuyan's acting skills had truly reached star level. His face remained calm as if nothing concerned him. Isn't Cao Long the one Nian Jiao killed? Could Tan Hung also have been taken down by Nian Jiao? Where would that madman have learned the Bak Vien mace? The senior brother folded his arms and shook his head as if making a deep analysis. Our head steward is under suspicion, but cutting one's own hand off, only a madman would do that. Now Cao Long is dead and Tan Hung too, yet the murderer remains unknown. Even if Han Tuiquan comes to the shop, he's powerless. Seeing the conversation going too far, Lu Yuyan didn't want more trouble. He waved the man off with a casual tone to make his exit. What do the elders' affairs have to do with us? Senior brother, I'm off to the warehouse to fetch supplies. Chat more later. The man, unconcerned, nodded repeatedly. All right, go on. A little later, Lu Yuyan swaggered into the warehouse, carefree as if strolling in a park. Vong Ho stood behind him, eyes wide in astonishment as he watched him grab a heap of premium materials, stammering. Oh, silver stone. Lu Junior brother, are you planning to make internal armor? Hearing Lu Yuyan grunt assent, Vong Ho's face went ashen. He hissed each word to advise him. In our shop, only old Zhang can forge internal armor, and he's exhausted. He needs a partner. At most 2 pieces a year. You're jumping into such a difficult task fresh. If it fails, you'll have to compensate half the minerals. But Lu Yuyan remained unfazed, ignoring the warnings. He tossed all the silver stone chunks onto the cart and replied coolly. With a master supervising, it's the perfect chance to take on the hardest piece. Later I'll reap the premium rewards. He calculated inwardly. On crowded roads, without soft armor to protect him, a single blade could slice into the organs. Even without body tempering, Tan Hung couldn't withstand my 18 hammers. I've thought this through. Body tempering paired with soft armor in danger might just save a hand. Still, Lu Yuyan hesitated briefly. On the one hand, forging soft armor that enhances body tempering would be superior. On the other, if it failed, half a year's effort would be wasted. Finally, he decisively swept everything up and stuffed the cart full. Seeing this, Vong Ho snapped back to his senses, lunged over, grabbed him and wailed like a beggar. Enough, enough, junior brother. Try a simpler piece first. If you're short, call me and I'll bring more. At that, Lu Yuyan stopped, brushed the dust from his skin and smiled brightly. So he had troubled Ho brother. When done, he pushed the loaded cart away. Vong Ho could only stand dumbfounded, eyes ravenous watching the precious haul being hauled off while his hands hung helpless. Outside, golden sunlight poured everywhere, warm like the sky's smile. Strolling along the corridor, Lu Yuyan ran into 2 senior brothers hurrying by. He cheerfully asked with some curiosity, "Why the rush, sirs? Where are you headed?" The 2 grinned and replied, "Miss Lo wants to go to town today. We're escorting her." Lu Yuyan let out an eager, "Oh," and said lecherously, "Then hurry back quickly, you two." After they vanished into the distance, he thought, "It seems Senior Yu and Senior No have gone to Miss Lo's small gathering more than once. The preliminaries are brutal every time. My sec's first round is already early to the pond. I wonder how many rounds those 2 can survive." Once outside the forge, the 2 began whispering. The subject circled back to Lu Yuyan. Nak Van Tan looked regretful. If junior brother Lu hadn't been a rank lower in constitution, his hopes would be high. The other replied that Li's constitution was mid-low, but his forging talent was top-notch. Staying at the shop might be better. Don't worry, everyone has their own path. The 2 faded from sight down the road. Indeed, everyone has their own path. At the same time, elsewhere, 3 figures rode like the wind along a narrow mountainside trail, the gusts whistling in their ears. After a while they halted on a high knoll and scanned the deep valley below. The young man frowned and pointed toward the dense forest. "Old Han, this mountain wood is where Brother Cao had trouble. The celestial troops probably fled from that peak. The city guards Gao Lu and Hai have been searching for days. Any clues yet?" The old man wearing a demon mask urged his horse forward, surveyed the scene, then turned to ask the accompanying girl, "Van Tu, what do you think?" The girl clasped her hands in salute and answered frankly, "I think we should return to the city first." Hearing that, Old Han tightened the reins and ordered the young man, "Bin Ung, head into the mountains to question the city guards. Report back when you've asked." The young man accepted the order at once. "Yes, sir." Without hesitation, Bin Ung shouted and spurred his horse off, dust billowing in his wake. Only then did Van Tu blurt out a question. "Old Han, you know clearly Brother Cao didn't die at Nianzhou's hands, So why send junior brothers into the mountains? Old Han stroked his beard leisurely and explained, no matter what we say, we must still probe the grass. See where the hidden snakes lie. Could it really be Nianjiu? He sighed heavily. I've long avoided killings because of my post. Now I'm dragged into finding the envoy of the Xia house. What a miserable fate. Van Tu watched him sigh and thought to herself, then you go look, won't you? Suddenly old Han assigned a task. Van Tu should chase after the fat man captured on the road to Jiola, then feign a detour home to investigate further. Aside from Kowlong's death, there's no need to fuss. Van Tu immediately replied, yes. She urged her horse to gallop in the opposite direction of Binung, leaving old Han standing alone on the knoll. Night quickly fell ink-dark. When Li Yuyan trudged home, he gaped at the chaotic scene. Belongings strewn all over the floor, shattered into pieces. His eldest aunt was bustling about, arranging things and wiping sweat as she explained that the city guards were searching every house for clues. Le Lam came out from the back and briefed Lu Yuyan on the situation. After Kowlong's death, the city guards had been tamping down their anger, but exploded whenever they found traces. Yesterday there were 3 fights outside the city and many civilians were seriously injured. Control has been strict the past few days. Civilians are forbidden to enter or leave the city. Shops are eerily empty. Li Yuyan didn't care at all. He grabbed a broom intending to help tidy up. I'll give a hand. But his eldest aunt snatched the broom away, worried. You've worked all day, rest. Lu Lam echoed his wife. We've got ironwork in the morning. Sleep early and preserve your strength. We're almost done here. Don't worry. Unable to argue, Li Yuyan bowed his head and waved sheepishly. I'll go to my room first. Back in his room, he immediately opened his storage system to look around. Lu Yuyan pulled out several vials of pills and nearly gasped. White bone pill, pregnancy reporting elixir, tendon repair elixir, chi blood pill. Tan Heng's place was truly a treasure trove. These pills must be worth a few hundred liang. 1 chi blood pill equaled a dozen or so blood essence pills, and its effect was gentle and pleasant. He nodded with satisfaction. These premium items, these 3 types, support cultivating body tempering martial arts and massively boost chi and blood. Suddenly he snapped off a small piece of the pill he was holding, bent down and put it straight into his pet rat's mouth. The little one was in for a treat. Watching the plump rat gobble the tasty morsel, he thought to himself, nutritious stuff. Its physique might double. Then Lu Yuyan shoved the remaining pill into his own mouth and chewed it down. In his storage space, a large ancient character suddenly appeared in midair, emitting a blinding golden light. Lu Yuyan grabbed the paper he had stolen from Tan Heng, clenched it, and shouted, Master Artifact! The green light from the scroll transformed into a long mace that settled neatly in his palm. The Jade Star bronze mace. Its power was no small thing. He had to exert his full strength just to hold it steady. My God! It's that strong. His whole body was enveloped in a brilliant green glow. The fully consummate devouring wind mace method. After a while, Lu Yuyan sat cross-legged in meditation. His body seemed to heat up as chi and blood circulated at a furious pace. Is this about to be a breakthrough? He clenched both hands and continued to circulate his energy. His feet, waist, and abdomen burned. He could clearly feel the pill's medicinal power being absorbed at high speed in his stomach. His eyes suddenly opened wide and shone. Vien Ti Fong Yao. Then Li Yuyan emptied the rest of the pills from the vial into his hand, shoved them all into his mouth, and casually tossed both empty vials to the floor. He seemed quite excited, chewing the pills while thinking that perhaps this time he'd cultivate himself into a superior innate constitution. In the next instant he felt a major change in his body. The speed of chi and blood flow kept accelerating, his whole body burning as if on fire, sweat streaming down his face. Lu Yuyan suddenly widened his eyes, reached out, and gripped the mace, leapt off the bed, eager to start training. He swung the mace up. Its formidable power seemed ready to erupt. When his foot hit the ground, the mace's force generated a powerful gust that blew everything around him away. Was it really that violent? The gust was so strong it smashed the tightly shut window sash and sent it flying straight out. By now Lu Yuyan was drenched in sweat. He had to strip off his outer robe. It was truly hot. In a flash, he dashed out into the yard at unbelievable speed. Lu Yuyan took a running leap off the ground, his body seeming to fly through the air, then landed straight into a large water tub, sending the water churning wildly and splashing everywhere. He stood in the tub, eyes icy, and breathed a relieved sigh. I almost cooked myself just now. His body suddenly began to tremble, his chest heaving with rapid breaths. The transformation of his constitution wasn't finished. He had enough pills but couldn't withstand it. Once the change completed, he could immediately cultivate internal force. Then the corner of his mouth curved up. He was in a rather good mood. Could using a basic-shaped weapon change one's constitution? The Bakveen mace could, but what about the green snake spear or the tiger hide blade? He raised a hand to shield his eyes and grinned inwardly with satisfaction. My sex good fortune has arrived. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day, just at dawn. Early, Lu Yuyan had slipped out of the house and shot down the street with a hurried face as if his butt were on fire. Tun Ban Tu had returned. He slammed the door open with a bang, beaming eagerly, "Big brother Tun." But when he saw Tun Ban Tu ragged and exhausted sitting sprawled on the doorstep, he froze as if turned to stone. The man looked at him with tear-filled eyes and, voice trembling, called, "Tu!" Tun Ban Tu threw himself forward, hugged Lu Yuyan tightly, and bawled, "Brother-in-law, the Duok Xa gang captured me. His wounds are so severe. What can we do?" "What now?" Lu Yuyan staggered, hoisted him up in surprise and asked, "The Duok Xa gang?" He mentally analyzed. The Duok Xa gang were notorious bandits beyond Bitch Tui Lake, numbering over 1,000 and not to be underestimated. Outwardly, he pushed Tun Ban Tu away and asked suspiciously, "So how did you get back?" He couldn't believe it. Something was off. Was Fat Tun lying or coerced? From what he knew, the Duok Xa gang had never harassed this small town and had ties to several major families, so they wouldn't dare provoke a weapons forge. Meanwhile, Tun Ban Tu covered his face in tears and hiccuped as he continued, "I knocked out the bandit guard in the dark and slipped away." Still half in doubt, Lu Yuyan grabbed his collar and shook him like a threat. Would the chief treasurer believe that? Tun Ban Tu trembled, avoided his sharp gaze and shouted. He didn't believe it either, but it's the truth. Lu Yuyan sighed, released him, and sneered, "I didn't expect him to be such a good actor. Impressive." To extract more details, he began firing off petty questions. "How many accompanied you?" Tun Ban Tu honestly confessed. 23 people, 13 of whom belonged to Chu Siusi Truong Vien. Hearing this, Lu Yuyan burst into loud laughter, leaving Tun Ban Tu frozen like a statue. "So what did you rely on to escape?" He already had a firm suspicion. If the old man's story were true, he must have been released intentionally. Tun Ban Tu trembled uncontrollably, sighed miserably, then turned away. "Ah, I know nothing. The chief treasurer doesn't believe me, you don't believe me, but I'm telling the truth." Seeing him listless and exhausted like a lost puppy, Lu Yuyan stepped forward and patted his shoulder. "You rest first. I'll go cook. Look at how scrawny you are." Tun Ban Tu replied sadly. "More fatty meat, please." A while later, he polished off every pot of rice Lu Yuyan cooked. Tun Ban Tu then fell into a death-like sleep. Lu Yuyan carefully pulled the blanket over him. "Sleep first. Talk when you wake up." Just then, Tao Diem suddenly appeared behind him. "Lu Yuyan, I heard old Truong say you've mastered the forging technique. Are you confident you can forge a top-grade weapon?" Lu Yuyan flinched and turned, his face a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Chief Steward, since when? I didn't sense his aura at all." He quickly stood, bowed with hands clasped in a ritual salute to Tao Diem, and replied humbly, "Respectfully, Chief Steward, I'm a green hand just starting out. I really can't be certain of anything." After hearing him, the man patted his shoulder encouragingly and said, "Don't be afraid. Whether you succeed or not, treat it as practice. You still have plenty of time and many opportunities ahead. If you truly forge a top-grade weapon, I'll give you a special reward." With that, he turned and left. Lu Yuyan remained bowed behind him, thinking inwardly. Did he travel all this way just to say those few words? Maybe he also came to visit Fat Tun. He lightly touched the spot where Tao Diem's hand had rested on his shoulder, his expression briefly troubled. The steward's martial strength exceeded Tan Heng's by 2 levels. His face hardened and his gaze turned cold. Plenty of opportunities later. What did that mean? Could it be that he didn't intend to let me go to Divine Arms Valley? Not until noon did Lu Yuyan leave Tun Ban Tu's courtyard. Seeing him return, Le Lam, who was chopping wood, cheerfully called out, "Yenzi, you're back." In his hands was a whole bundle of fresh vegetables and several large and small bags filled with meat and eggs. I took a day off to buy some meat and eggs, used them to nourish sister-in-law. Le Lam stood, took the bags Lu Yuyan handed over, murmuring, "That cost quite a bit again. Keep it for yourself." Lu Yuyan replied happily, "Sister-in-law's pregnancy is the future of the Lu family. Don't let her suffer." His eldest aunt was deeply moved, eyes misting. "We've still got the food you bought at home left uneaten." Le Lam, standing nearby, interjected mockingly but affectionately, "Enough, enough. Knowing you work all day like this would make second brother worry." He turned to her with a bright smile and caring eyes. "Sister-in-law, you should enjoy this too. The money I spend is all for the grandson. When he's born, I'll buy him whatever's best." The home's atmosphere grew warm and full of familial affection. His eldest aunt wiped her hands and suggested, "Since you have the day off, let's take a walk, buy some prenatal medicine, then go to the Bodhisattva temple." Upon hearing his wife's suggestion, Le Lam suddenly remembered and told Lu Yuyan, "Right, it's been lively on the streets these days, you should rest too." Hearing his brother, he propped his chin and murmured, "The Bodhisattva temple?" Then he flashed a calculating, knowing smile. "All right, let's go for a walk." The Lu family quickly tidied up and set off together toward the designated temple. Lu Yuyan lagged behind, walking slowly, muttering to himself words only he could hear. Under the city lockdown order, the suburbs were unusually sparse, a stark contrast to the bustling, crowded inner city. The wealth gap between inner and outer districts was clear as day. The way factions divided territory revealed everything. His gaze seemed indifferent to the surroundings, absorbed instead in schemes and deep plots within the martial world. The outer city hosted the Sai Gang, Fisher Gang, Three Rivers, and Hung Base, while the inner city was the domain of Truong Vien Tu Cuc, Not Tuin, Thong Dat Money House, Lai Ho Martial School, and the Qing Brothel's influence. Watching his eldest brother and aunt walking ahead, Lu Yuyan thought bitterly. Before bankruptcy, our family had a small courtyard in the inner city. After the incident, Tan Heng bought it to keep a mistress. Clearly, the inner city was better. Before long, the three arrived at the gate of the Tianyan Bodhisattva temple. At that moment, the crowd coming to burn incense and pray for children was very dense. As soon as he stepped in, Lu Yuyan's eyes fell on the towering incense burner in the courtyard. To him, that incense brazier was a true treasure. Placed on the divine weapon platform, it would surely absorb a great deal of energy. He then tried to slip away from the two of them. "Second brother, you and sister-in-law go offer incense first. I'll wander around alone for a bit." Le Lam readily agreed. "All right, we'll come out later." Lu Yuyan replied cheerfully, "Very well." When the other two entered the temple, he immediately went to the offering table, took 3 incense sticks, and walked straight to the incense brazier. The system seemed to understand its owner's intent, scanned it once, and sent him detailed information about the item. The incense brazier before the Tianyan Bodhisattva temple, second tier, was cast from ancient iron bronze, its color unchanging. Countless devout prayers converged here. Entrusted to the smoke, worshippers' wishes for luck and peace gradually generated spiritual peculiarities. The conditions to control its worship ritual power are strict. Its effect is to still the mind and purify the qi, make the statue solemn and unmoving, and grant a bit of good fortune. After hearing the announcement, Lu Yuyan admired inwardly. Truly a fine item. He then stepped onto the raised platform and planted the 3 incense sticks he held into the brazier. From this angle, he could even see the statue inside the shrine and thought to himself, "This brazier is better than I expected. Perhaps even superior to the deity statue in the main hall. At least it emanated a normal colored glow." He estimated the brazier weighed at least 1,000 caddies and was made from a mixed iron-bronze alloy. Simply forging it would have cost several hundred taels of silver, not to mention it being a 1,000-year heirloom. Thinking this, he stepped down and shrugged, looking regretful. It was a pity the incense flame temple was so prosperous. They surely weren't short on funds, so it probably wouldn't be sold to him. Unable to touch the precious brazier, Liu Yuyan left disappointed, rubbing his chin and plotting to hunt for a substitute treasure. Among the 9 temples of Gao Lu, the Bodhisattva ranks first and the kitchen god second. These two enjoy thriving worship, but places in the outer city seem to have waning offerings. Then he'd try his luck there. While plotting, his gaze suddenly landed on 3 figures in the distance. Perhaps there was someone he knew among them. Lu Baklin and the 2 companions were heading toward a high-ranking monk. This group must have come here with some important matter to resolve. Liu Yuyan narrowed his eyes and watched them, analyzing in his head. 3 girls and 1 completely unfamiliar face. Yet that stranger's aura was markedly different. He observed more closely and realized the unfamiliar face carried an extraordinary bearing, certainly a master. He concluded this, closed his eyes and sighed. People in the inner city had more opportunities to explore than those in the outer city. Time flew, and by the next day Liu Yuyan appeared at the forge, where old Truong was already waiting to assign tasks. The chief steward had summoned 10 forces from both inner and outer city to hunt the Duok Xa gang together. Therefore he had 10 days locked to the forge to produce a set of inner armor. He bowed his head and meekly accepted the order. "I understand, disciple." With that, he wordlessly plunged into work. All his focus poured into it as if entering a meditative state. Liu Yuyan toiled the whole day, from dawn's first light until dusk stained the window red. Only then did he relent, pulling out a cloth to wipe the large beads of sweat from his face. The next morning he was at the forge very early. Liu Yuyan fixed his eyes on the onan thread in his hand, carefully inspecting every detail. After evaluating it, he reported to Master Truong. The onan thread is prepared and can be woven into armor. Forging soft armor is much harder than making swords, spears, or halberds. The onan must be repeatedly forged and tempered until it liquefies, poured into molds, and drawn into filaments. Reaching this step is only the beginning of creating soft armor. Old Truong was carefully drawing the filament around a steel bar and murmured in a deep, satisfied voice, "Good! This is how it should be." At that moment, Vu Chan, the new steward and a true blade man, strode in. His voice rang cold as ice. "Masters, first stop for a moment." He turned to old Truong and cleared his throat meaningfully. "You all know about Vu Mo coming here, right?" Old Truong raised a hand as if to refuse. Vu, the forge steward, said there were fewer than 23 workers total, so the daily forging was already barely sufficient. If any were pulled away a bit, the weapons sent to the prefecture would fall short in number. Vu Chan sneered in return. "What is old Truong saying? You are a master smith famed far and wide. With you here, why fear not forging enough weapons?" Ignoring old Truong's furious expression, Vu Chan turned and swept his gaze over the workers. As for mace craftsmen in Chao Lu County, this forge was likely the home of the most. Moreover, this shop might be hiding some secret, or the person who killed Tan Hung could be hiding here. His indifferent manner seemed to test old Truong's patience, causing the suppressed anger to erupt. The old man slammed the table, leapt up, veins bulging as he shouted, "I will go find the chief steward." Liu Yuyan stepped back, his face hard as steel, his mind already running analytical algorithms. Vu Chan daring to come to the forge to conscript men must be acting on Tao the steward's orders. This man is a poison expert. The Bak Vien template fundamentally belonged to him, yet it appeared in Tan Hung's hands. His relationship with Tan Hung must be very special. A flash of caution lit his eyes. The blade-wielding man staying at the forge clearly had ulterior motives. Old Truong's ultimatum brushed past Vu Chan like a breeze. He didn't bother to fear, instead laughing heartily as he declared, "I'll see old Truong off. Go ask the chief steward yourself." Old Truong was provoked to a purple-red face, grinding his teeth, but powerless in his weakened position. Finishing his words, Vu Chan spun to the surrounding workers and pointed decisively, "You too, and the 3 over there." He deliberately glanced at Liu Yuyan but didn't ask him to come. His tone sounded rehearsed. This young apprentice was old Truong's favored disciple, and the chief steward had instructed that he not be involved. He suddenly turned, feigning excessive concern. "Oh right, young brother. How is your chi blood cultivation going these days?" Liu Yuyan nodded slightly and answered humbly but with intent. "Respectfully, Chief Steward Vu, under Master Mong's care and relying on elixirs, I've barely reached a minor achievement in chi blood cultivation." Vu Chan, slightly surprised, quickly masked it. He nodded and hurriedly led the chosen workers away. "Minor achievement, huh? Not bad. You all come with me." After Vu Chan and the selected workers disappeared, Old Truong pounded his chest, face flushed, his long-suppressed anger erupting like a volcano as he shouted, "What a hateful man, truly a venomous snake." Unlike the erupting Old Truong, Liu Yuyan quietly weighed things. Vu Chan seemed mild but was actually extremely dangerous. He glanced back to gauge the others' reactions, feeling uneasy. From now on, how will the senior brothers at the forge view him and his master after those words? Resentful, so resentful. At that same moment outside the city wall, Tao Diem had led a strong contingent of disciples, ready to march. Having finished his personal errands, Liu Yuyan quickly stepped out to watch, keeping a safe distance to avoid being named into the formation. Senior Brother Cao and Senior Brother No had also mounted the carriage, a force of several hundred charged straight for the Duok Xa gang. A truly shocking ambush. Looking up at the towering city gate, he suddenly saw Lu Bok Lin and her father and Van Tu standing there hesitantly, the woman who had been in the temple. Could the young disciple of Miss Lu have been accepted into the inner sect of Divine Arms Valley? But she still seemed too young. Lu Bok Lin's father, from his lofty position atop the gate, pronounced coldly, "The Duok Xa gang has gone too far. Commander Cao wasn't even present, and yet they dared to pillage and commit crimes. They deserve to die." Van Tu, eyes sharp as a hawk's, immediately pressed, "Brother-in-law, Commander Cao was killed. Did you truly not know even a bit of the situation?" He frowned slightly and replied with a calm exterior but evasive words. "The day Commander Cao had his incident, I was debating the way with Master Kong Ding. Who could have imagined such a tragedy? If I had known earlier, I would have gone with Commander Cao. After that day, I ordered all officials to search day and night, but there are still no clues. Instead, Assistant Cao Dat was implicated and his whereabouts remain unknown." As soon as he finished speaking, Van Tu decisively turned and walked away. Her voice was icy as she called back, "I hope you're not involved." Witnessing her aunt's decisive attitude, Lu Bok Lin felt curious and thought to herself, "What about me?" Her father, wearing a grave expression, turned to explain to his daughter, "Your young disciple is only suspicious that my husband practiced wrongly, embraced deviant methods, and worshipped an evil deity." He paused briefly, then continued in a tone of certainty, "But the Tianyan Bodhisattva is a legitimate deity officially enshrined by the court 1,000 years ago." Lu Bok Lin immediately bowed deeply in agreement. The Tianyan Bodhisattva truly was a legitimate deity. A few days later, Liu Yuyan's efforts finally yielded initial results. The system instantly displayed a detailed notification before him. Onan Bich Tui Inner Armor, 2nd rank, uses Onan as its base, supplemented by Bich Tin and Bak Bich Na as support. The chief armorer personally crafted this first piece of inner armor, pouring in much care and expectation. Usage requires mastery of Hon Luyan. Effects include resistance to injury, nourishment for light weapons, and aptitude boosting Hon Luyan. Wasting no time, he brought the freshly forged armor to Old Truong. His master took it and showed visible joy. "Good lad, you've produced a top-grade inner armor, the hardest kind to forge." Praised by his master, Liu Yuyan remained properly modest and bowed. "Thanks to master's guidance throughout the process. Otherwise, as a first attempt, I fear I could not have succeeded." Old Truong held the armor, trembling with excitement. He realized that aside from minor differences in materials and furnace temperature, the soft armor was perfect, as if forged by his own hands. Even the smallest details bore his unmistakable style. "Good lad, you've grasped the full essence." Seeing Old Truong elated like he'd struck gold, Liu Yuyan was slightly startled. It was rare to see his master so enthused. He quickly steered the topic to business. "So what's the price for this soft armor?" Old Truong returned the armor, tilting his head with a wry smile but speaking with the earnestness of a craftsman. Excitement is excitement, but commerce is commerce. Making it took only 2 days, but it must be soaked in water for at least a year and a half, still far from being a finished product. Price would be around 200 to 300 taels of silver. Normally this could be forged in 10 days to half a month. Lad, don't get too conceited. Hearing the lecture, he nodded repeatedly in agreement. Yes, 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 master is right. Inside he felt as if he'd won the lottery, trembling with excitement. He told himself selling it finished or semi-finished made no difference. After soaking a month or two, the appearance would hardly change. He only needed it to be usable. That night, the rain poured in sheets. Lu Yuyan leaned against the eaves, his mind wandering to the last pill, the supreme restorative pill. If Tan Hung could stock more things like this, he'd save himself a lot of expense later. Without hesitation, he shoved the pill straight into his mouth and swallowed it whole. At that moment, a flash of lightning sliced through the night, illuminating the sky. Undeterred by the downpour, Lu Yuyan continued training diligently, performing the primary 24 mace forms, the reverse 24, and the combined 24. He swung the mace while murmuring, over the past 2 months he'd fully grasped the essential skill of the combat mace path. Each move followed his will, the mace going where his mind directed. He had now entered the gateway of this superior, secret foundational martial art. His face showed no fatigue. Instead he was ecstatic. Lu Yuyan wielded the mace so fast the wind itself took heed. Raindrops flung outward, unable to touch him. Another bolt of lightning tore across the sky, roaring loudly. Lu Yuyan had just finished his training session. He stood rooted under the rain, his body soaked but his spirit blazing. He brushed the remaining raindrops from his face, elated as if at a festival. His great circulation was nearly complete. The martial arts excellence proved extraordinary. He turned and stepped onto the porch, already sketching a meticulous strategy in his mind. Once he regained use of the bitch tin bronze mace and added 1,000 caddies of force, combined with the overwhelming heavy force mace technique that crushes armor. Then when facing Tan Hung he absolutely wouldn't need as many as 16 mace strikes. He continued planning. The day after tomorrow is the grand drill. I can redeem the promissory note and prepare to upgrade the Divine Arms 6. Before leaving, he glanced back into the rain, a confident smile on his lips. At most within a month he could produce the Bak Vien fist. Just as he stepped inside, Tun Ban Tu handed Lu Yuyan a piping hot steamed bun and sighed woefully. Yuyan, it's been 2 months and the Duok XA gang's leaders still haven't been caught. My husband, I don't know if he's still alive. He took the bun, bit off a large piece, and chewed as he replied with contempt. Those Duok XA gang beasts split into many groups hiding in the mountains and lakes. Even if the chief steward can divine the heavens, there's nothing he can do. Tun Ban Tu sat down with a sigh, his face full of worry. The city guard is involved too, so why is it taking so long? Lu Yuyan finished the bun and took a big gulp of water, spitting out disdain. What good is sending only a dozen people? The cavalry is still chasing Nianjiu. After so long they still haven't caught that scoundrel. They're useless. Hearing this, Tun Ban Tu, mouth full, hurriedly updated plans. Today I must leave the city to find the chief steward. Tonight you come over to second brother's house for dinner. Lu Yuyan had no intention of intervening, only lightly reminded. Then brother, take care on the road. At dawn the next day he was already at the library. The keeper had opened long ago, but not a soul had come to read. Seeing him arrive, the keeper turned quickly and greeted with a bright smile. Lu Yuyan, you're here? He reached for several books and handed them to him. The volumes you sought, old who borrowed them from some fellow disciples. The keeper gave the books with a tone of pride. Old who had to find several people to borrow these. You must take good care of them. Lu Yuyan bowed his head, received the books respectfully with both hands, and smiled. I washed my hands before coming. Please rest assured. He chose a quiet corner of a table and opened the book to read. The keeper looked at him with fond eyes, thinking to himself, in this shop, this child is the most diligent. Children are easy to teach, children are easy to teach. Lu Yuyan wasted no time, quickly flipping through each page of the Bai then sect records. He propped his chin, tilted his head, and mentally summarized. Not an evil cult. Late afternoon at Lu Bok Lin's estate, 3 family members sat together at the dinner table. Breaking the silence, Lu Bok Lin's father asked Van Tu, "Xiao Tu, when will Elder Han arrive?" She glanced distantly and replied coldly, "I don't know." Then she stood and offered a farewell. "No need for courtesy, brother-in-law. I have matters to attend to. And Tu, I'll go ahead." Seeing Aunt Van Tu leave, Lu Bok Lin rose to follow. "Auntie, where are you going?" Her father struck his chopsticks hard on the bowl rim, his voice stern as he cut in, "Eat your meal." Lu Bok Lin dared not disobey her father and sat back down with a sullen face. "Yes, father." She rested her hand on the table and stared outside, the chopsticks hovering in midair. The moon had risen high and the night was fully dark. While her father leisurely watered his potted plants, Vu Chan suddenly appeared as if dropping from the sky. He spoke politely. "Vu has come abruptly. Hope I'm not disturbing you, sir." Lu Bok Lin's father remained composed and replied, "What does Night Vu mean?" He turned to the servants and barked. It was Lu who was remiss. "Can't you see? Why haven't you invited the guest inside to rest? Go take the blame yourself." The servant bowed and accepted the order. "Master, I understand." Seeing this, Vu Chan waved his hand and said courteously, "It's all minor matters. Today Brother Tao sent me. I'm here to ask you what we should do next." The county magistrate replied thoughtfully, "I know Fat Q Mountain is vast and the lake is wide. Searching for the Duok Xa gang will likely take much time and cannot be rushed. Just don't miss the Divine Arms Valley Grand Ceremony. I hear Valley Chief Gong Duong values ritual above all. On the founding day, inner discipline disciples and elder outer discipline members must return to the mountain." Vu Chan stood behind, eyes narrowed, a slight curl at his mouth, raising 2 fingers to signal. From Chao Lu to Divine Arms Valley, even by swift mounts it takes 23 days, and today is already the 28th of the 6th month. Lu Bok Lin's father unrolled a document and moved toward his desk. The east wind bit cold, snow falling thick like cotton. The remaining 20 days were meaningless. Vu Chan heard this and nodded in agreement in his head. "If that's the case, I understand." He then proposed, "County Magistrate, may I borrow a squad of your constables?" The magistrate kept his eyes on the document, not bothering to look up, and uttered a curt sentence. "Just tell the chief steward and it will be arranged." Vu Chan received the magistrate's nod, bowed low. "Many thanks. I won't trouble you further today." Having finished, he made no hesitation and turned to leave to prepare for the forthcoming action. Lu Bok Lin's father hurried to the door, raised his hand to shut the gate, blocking the sinister force called the demon-faced Prajna Han Shui army. At that crucial moment, a hand suddenly stopped the door and a panicked voice sounded, "Sir!" Lu Bok Lin's father frowned sharply, his voice icy. "What is it?" The servant's face drained of blood, sweat pouring as he stammered his report. The brothers barely managed to capture 1 cow, but unexpectedly someone secretly intervened and rescued him. Upon hearing this, Lu Bok Lin's father's face went pale. What? Another scene played out at the abandoned house. Cao Dat lay sprawled on the ground, grievously wounded so that his whole body was limp, without strength. He trembled violently, his gaze darting toward a mysterious figure who casually sat rocking in a chair as if none of it concerned him. The stranger spoke in a half-jesting, mocking tone. "If you'd rolled around a bit longer you'd have saved me the trouble of rescuing you, and I wouldn't have had to dig you a grave." Cao Dat braced himself on the doorframe, struggling to rise as he choked out, "You saved me? Who are you? Why?" A stone suddenly whistled from somewhere and struck Cao Dat down on the spot. He collapsed, unconscious. The man still lounging in the chair spoke lightly, his voice flat as water. "He's so badly hurt. Aren't you afraid you'd kill him by striking?" The other rose slowly, a demonic mask flickering across his face with an eerie allure. At that moment, Van Tu appeared in the doorway and said, "Elder Han, I've waited for you for 2 months." Elder Han fanned himself leisurely and replied, "I'll return at the start of the 3rd month next year. It's still early and I may be sent elsewhere, so I might as well take a break now." Van Tu stepped forward and handed him a book, stating firmly, You are the talent-seeking envoy. He continued, strangely fitting. You are the deputy envoy. He repeated, strangely fitting. You are the deputy envoy. He repeated, strangely fitting. You are the deputy envoy. Van Tu tilted her head and explained in detail to Elder Han. These are my niece's reports on Chao Lu and the 6 surrounding counties. Everyone is under 25, and among them 2 youths have top-tier innate potential. Elder Han turned around after hearing this, his tone grown serious. I have found one person quite good. As for you, I must advise. Be cautious rather than reckless. Innate potential must be solid. Time sped forward again. With a snap of the fingers, it was already the next day. Lu Yuyan appeared at a weapons stall, reached out, picked up an old trident and inspected it. His system displayed an instant scan and analysis. Trident, Thiat Huin Jun, rank 1, scrap. Patches of rust stained with its owner's blood. It led charges in battle, drank deep of blood, but once broken was discarded and slowly rusted.
Usage condition, ineffective.
Anticipate enemy initiative.
After the analysis, he frowned and wondered. Anticipate enemy initiative? Predicting the enemy's plans seemed linked to actual killing in some village. And yet there are weapons like this too? The young vendor saw Lu Yuyan eyeing the item and shrugged. 3 taels of silver. You can take this iron staff. Lu Yuyan bristled and began haggling like a market hag. 3 taels? Are you selling scrap by weight? Who do you expect to use this? You can't just slash prices for acquaintances. Can you? Just at the peak bargaining hour, the stall owner appeared. He tapped the boy's head, smiling broadly, and offered a shock discount to Lu Yuyan. 2 taels, 2 taels, and 2 cash. Take it. Hearing the owner, the boy was immediately shut up and Lu Yuyan asked if he could have the trident as well. If you 2 don't need it, can you give it to me? The boy was about to refuse, but the owner quickly covered his mouth and replied joyfully, Fine, you can take it all. Lu Yuyan checked the system notification. Water attribute 2. While the father and son started their internal squabble, Lu Yuyan slipped away in time. He thought to himself, these 2 are from Fuang Tin village. The item was dug up there. I should visit when I have time. Among the bustling crowd, he suddenly recognized a familiar face. Luong Etui. He pointed to the basket swinging at Etui's side and asked, Luong Etui, are those spirit fish in your basket? Etui squinted at him suspiciously. Who are you? Lu Yuyan replied plainly, I'm Lu Yuyan, from the forge. Etui startled for a moment. Then his eyes lit up. Lu Yuyan, I've heard about you. He leaned in close and whispered, these 2 oxhorn carp each weigh over 4 caddies. I've already given these 2 to an old master. Can't sell them. He said this with a knowing smile and proposed a lucrative deal. I've heard you're the most talented apprentice in the forge these past years. You forge a top-grade weapon for me, and I'll give you 2 spirit fish. I'll provide the forging materials. Lu Yuyan was briefly surprised but immediately accepted. 2 fish, for caddies each, deal. He calculated inwardly. Oxhorn carp are spirit fish that greatly replenish chi and blood. 1 caddy worth 1 tael of gold. So 2 fish at 4 caddies is about 8 taels. Not a bad trade. Spirit fish are rare, and at the forge superior weapons can be made that aren't just for me. Etui then vanished, looking back to promise Lu Yuyan. If they're under 4 caddies, I'll give you 3. That's our deal. I have to deliver the fish now. See you next time. He waved goodbye, muttering excitedly. Spirit fish, what do they taste like? When I'm free, I should visit Bitch Tui Lake. Maybe I can catch some spirit fish too. His face brightened, eyes squinting as he murmured. If I cash the banknote now, I can return to the manor today. The pile of gold in the box shone dazzlingly, and Lu Yuyan felt as happy as if he'd won the lottery. He clasped his hands gratefully to old Truong. Many thanks, master. He calculated inwardly. I exchanged 10 taels of gold at a 10-to-1 rate, saving over 20 taels worth of silver exchange fees. Master really has no equal. From behind, old Truong cut off his excitement to temper his disciple. I can exchange this for you under conditions. Don't be too happy yet. Lu Yuyan kept staring at the gold as if the rest of the world didn't exist. Old Truong folded his arms, tilted his head, and reminded sternly, "You must forge another top-grade bitch knock Dao." Hearing old Truong's condition, Li Yuyan clutched the gold bar to his chest as if afraid of it being taken. His face contorted nearly to tears. "Could I not forge the bitch knock Dao?" Old Truong waved his hand magnanimously, his smile growing brighter. "Just make a top-grade piece. If you can forge an extraordinary mystical weapon, I'll be even more pleased." Then he suddenly grabbed Li Yuyan by the collar, his expression turning serious and admonishing. "Don't blame your master for pushing you. If you don't use this time to build experience and technique, when will you ever forge a supreme weapon?" Li Yuyan stubbornly hugged the gold, eyes wary as if someone might steal his credit, muttering reluctantly, "You're right. I've been lazy as a disciple." Seeing that, old Truong squinted and smiled, rubbing his disciple's head. "You insincere little rascal." The next moment, Li Yuyan's attitude reversed a full 180 degrees. He looked up confidently. "Don't worry, at most a year or two and your disciple can forge one for you." He mischievously winked at old Truong, nose tilted to the sky. In his mind he calculated, at most 1 year, I will surely master this master's quenching technique and break through forging to a state of great perfection. Old Truong widened his eyes, skeptical. 1 or 2 years. If you can do it within 10 years, I'll be very satisfied." Seeing his master didn't believe him, Li Yuyan nudged his shoulder, his tone a bit provocative. "Well, what if I can forge it?" Old Truong put on a mysterious air. Suddenly, he spun around and slapped Li Yuyan across the face with a thunderous strike. So strong the boy staggered, blood spraying from his nose as he toppled backward. The old man shouted, his voice booming like thunder. "Only thinking about my good stuff, huh? If you want prospects, get back to forging for me." Even with the red handprint clearly marked on his cheek, Li Yuyan still smiled brightly, turned his back and walked off, murmuring in reply, "Yes, master." He thought to himself, "My master really is beyond praise." A little later, inside the forge, as Li Yuyan hammered tirelessly on a steel blank, Tun Ban Tu rushed in and hurriedly announced, "Yuyan, I won't be returning tonight. I have to go out and scout a bit." Li Yuyan stopped, looked at him and offered reassurance. "In the past 2 days, the people who left the city have returned. Only our forge and Chief Chu's searchers are still looking outside the walls. The fund stewards are paying close attention. Don't worry." Tun Ban Tu accepted the encouragement, but his tone remained heavy with worry. "Still, this concerns my sister-in-law. I'm only passing by the forge and thought to tell you." He sighed deeply, helplessly asking into the air. "Tell me, how did it come to this?" Li Yuyan set aside his work, came over and patted his shoulder to calm him. "Don't rush. So long as there's no bad news, we still have hope. I'll assume something good is happening behind the scenes." Tun Ban Tu nodded slightly in agreement. "Then I'll be off." Having said that, Tun Ban Tu turned and walked away. Li Yuyan quietly watched the hunched figure, bowed under the weight of fatigue and worry. At a perilous mountain corner, Van Tan was preparing to step into the E-character wine house. At that moment, No Min came running up in a panic. The loud call made Van Tan start and turn. "Senior Muist, wait." He bowed deeply, pleading urgently. "Could you say a few words for your junior? I still want to try." Van Tan glanced at him, annoyance and exasperation clear in his eyes. "Junior, no. Why must you make things difficult for me?" Rejected outright, No Min remained undaunted, clinging to a final hope. "Senior Muist, please help me. If I miss this chance, I truly cannot enter Divine Arms Valley." Van Tan paid no heed to the desperate plea, replied shortly and turned to go. "No Min, I cannot help you with this." No Min had no strength left to plead. He stood rooted to the spot, dazed and dejected, like a broken man who had lost all hope. At the same time, in another elegant room, Lu Bok Lin was slowly pouring tea for Van Tu, repeatedly asking, "Tu Di, do you really intend to nominate Nak Van Tan for the inner exam? My vigor is better than his, and my constitution is only slightly inferior. What difference does that make?" Van Tu remained composed and answered decisively, "Innate constitution is naturally the most important." She lifted her teacup, eyes deep as she stared into the clear water. In her mind she calculated carefully. Talent and constitution together mark true talent. Nak Van Tan's talent is somewhat lacking. He may not pass the inner assessment. Lu Bok Lin suddenly clutched Van Tu's arm, her face pleading and childlike. I'm also mid-high constitution, only a little less. Tu Di, I'm begging you, please. Van Tu flinched at her niece's action but remained firm. A little less is still not acceptable. She took a stern face and began to explain carefully to Lo Bok Lin. Bok Lin, after the qi and blood fully consolidate, you must circulate the qi and blood throughout the body to cultivate a thread of force. The force inside this is called internal force. Lo Bok Lin waved her hand and smiled smugly. Chudi, I already know all this. Stop testing me. The girl still clung to Van Tu's arm, puckered her lips and continued. Refining pills to restore the elixir, nourishing the force throughout the body, that's reversal of the body, then comes internal strengthening. Father taught me all of this. Van Tu was slightly surprised, then smiled and patiently elaborated. So after internal strengthening, what then? External training of tendons and bones and internal training of the organs must reach a state of great perfection. That's the goal. So if your constitution isn't top tier, even with supreme talent you won't reach that realm in a lifetime. Lo Bok Lin listened, dumbfounded, her mouth agape in astonishment. Van Tu half closed her eyes and delivered a final blow. Now do you understand? After all the selection rounds, everyone except Nak Van Tan is ordinary, including you. Van Tu's frank words hit Lo Bok Lin like a slap across the face. Without me you wouldn't even get into the outer division. Lo Bok Lin collapsed face first onto the table, trembling, voice choked. Tu Di, did you have to wound me like that? She sprang up like a spring and shot out the door, her face distorted with deep hurt. Fine. Today I won't say anything at all. Van Tu watched her granddaughters retreating back and exhaled a heavy, long sigh. Time passed swiftly. In the blink of an eye dusk had fallen. Lu Yuyan laughed heartily and shot out of the forge like an arrow. A figure flickered in the setting sun and called softly, Lu Yuyan, I'm here. He startled and paused, his face showing puzzlement and wariness. Why are you here? A Tui raised the basket in his hand, grinning. 1 oxhorn carp at 4 caddies and 2 ounces. I'll give you this one first. After you forge the weapon, I'll give you the second. Hearing that, Lu Yuyan took the basket, peeked inside and countered. You trust me that much? His question made a Tui slightly embarrassed. Isn't the point of using someone that you don't doubt them? Lu Yuyan burst out laughing and nodded in agreement. Exactly. Staring at the spirit creature in the basket, his mouth watered. He cheerfully asked, A Tui, have you decided what kind of weapon to forge? The man rummaged in his clothes and pulled out a sheet of paper with squiggled lines forming a trident. I've drawn it. Take a look. Looking at the sketch, Lu Yuyan made a face, wondering if that was really a weapon. A Tui's eyes shone as he added, a 3-pronged oxhorn carp trident. In a few days I'll bring the iron. Forge it just like the drawing. Lu Yuyan felt the deal was iffy and rubbed his chin, trying to negotiate. Do you really want it forged exactly like this? Or shall I redraw it? A Tui grew more stunned and asked incredulously, Isn't this clear enough?
Le Huyen nodded vigorously.
In his head he thought, it's not only unclear but rather abstract. A Tui then thought up a backup plan and prepared to leave. I'll describe it more clearly next time. For now, finish gathering the fish. I'll come back another day.
Le Huyen nodded promptly.
With the arrangements settled, he glanced at the basket and had only one thought. Family first. Conveniently, when he gets home today he must let his sister-in-law try some.